All right. Let's do this. Best case scenario, number 8 has been in the books for a long time, meaning scheduled, but not recorded. And today we get to record number 8. So my guest today is a devoted family man, a dear friend, and one of the hardest workers that I know. You can find him on YouTube at Slowmotion's Garage. And please welcome Dakota Eiland.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for the shout out too.
What, Slowmotion?
Slowmotion's Garage.
Of
Yeah,
course, it
I
puts money in my
appreciate it.
pocket too.
Well, that's true. It's almost like the channel has grown since I found somebody that can edit with a little more skill than me, which really didn't take much.
Well, and the hardest worker note I have in here, it refers to also your consistency. You've been extremely consistent, and I feel like that's where so many people fall off. Is like, I'm going to do this, and they hit it hard for a week.
It's
I mean, in all things,
Yeah.
not just a YouTube channel.
it's on the YouTube thing, man. It's rough. I started YouTube going, I got this off-road toy. If I can make enough money to offset the cost of these toys, that's all I want out of it. And about 6 months in, I realized, oh wow, this is actually work. People don't just turn a camera on real quick and record a couple of shots of them off-roading or something like that and make a bunch of money. It just doesn't work that way. And I got DaVinci Resolve because you told me, I was using the editing software that comes with my computer, Clipchamp. It was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. Like where you would cut the clip is not where it ended up even being cut once you rendered it out. So, but
When you said what Clipchamp,
it came with the computer.
when you told me that, a little piece of my soul died.
Yeah, I could see it in your face. You're like, no.
And you were hesitant about DaVinci.
I was scared.
You liked your Clipchamp.
I was scared because I haven't touched a computer since high school, and it was a challenge just to get the computer set up and get on Clipchamp. And I looked, you're like, oh yeah, this is like professional software. And then I got on it and seen all the different. I think I had it downloaded on my computer for 2 months before I used it. I continued to use Clipchamp because I was like, there is so many things that I can do. I can't learn this.
Yeah.
There's no way I can learn this. And then it was just slowly, and then you'd come over and you'd be like, you realize you could just do this. And I'm like, oh, I've been doing this, and this, and this just to cut it.
Your first sin was using the mouse pad
Oh.
and not an actual mouse.
Yeah, what was it? I used DaVinci Resolve for like 2 or 3 months.
That's unbelievable.
With the mouse pad, and I was getting so frustrated. And I finally got a mouse, and they weren't that expensive.
Just a little USB mouse.
Yeah. And I was like, this is a game changer. Wow.
I saw you were showing me, and then I put this clip here, all with the mouse pad, and I don't even know how to react to that. I'm just like, I didn't even know that was possible to start and edit with a mouse pad.
The amount of times that you've like showed me, hey, you could do this. Oh, wow, that was so simple.
Well,
hey, wow.
Remember the other day you taught me something.
Yeah, what was? Oh, yeah,
right on text.
Yeah, make that a little faster.
Yep, make it a lot faster.
Yeah.
I just showed you what I did. It was letter by letter.
Text box. But dude, there's so much to learn. I feel like you could use that software in a professional environment for years and still have stuff to learn. Like,
and I think it depends on what you are using it for. I guess it's fine. Because like if you're using it, say, for a podcast, there's kind of a limited window of features that you even need.
Right.
You need a few things, and the rest is foo-foo, and you don't need it.
Yeah.
If you're making a multi-million-dollar production, you're probably using a lot of stuff in there.
Yep.
So it just kind of depends on what you're using.
Yep.
But that's what's fun about taking on your videos, is because it kind of pushes me a little bit out of my comfort zone of like, I know what to do over here. I'm a master at cutting and slicing it up, but when it comes to like actual effects, that's whenever I have to either YouTube it and kind of find out how this works and how to use it effectively. Because yours, I can be basically as creative as I want. I know you have a certain flavor and a certain tone that you want, so I try to keep with that. But you give me basically all the leeway or all the creative freedom to do as I do, and that helps like branch out a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further.
Well, that's what I love about you editing. When I record, I'm so in love with everything I've done. I can't get rid of anything. So what should be a 5 minute video ends up being a 30-minute video, and it falls off because it's just a lot of, sometimes I record a shot from like 4 different angles, and I would put every angle in full length because I recorded all of
Right.
it. And where you, especially on stuff where you're not there, you just get to look at the clips and say, I'm gonna build a story, you know?
Or I'm just, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. You shot everything. You're like, everything needs to go in. I didn't shoot it. I didn't set up the shot. I didn't
Right.
take the time. So I can look at it and say, to hell with this shot. I'm not,
Yeah.
it's not even going to make
Yep.
the rough draft, it's not going to make it at all whenever you took so much time and effort and energy to
Yeah.
get that shot and you want to use it. Like I completely understand that. So yeah, having kind of a third party from the outside coming in probably helps with that, even
Yeah.
though you're probably watching some of my edits thinking, where's that shot at?
Well, like Rednecks, which of course Rednecks you recorded a lot. You actually got a lot of good shots I didn't know we had. And when I watched the video for the first time, I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got that. Like at the beginning we rode in I'm terrible with names, Zach's truck.
Okay.
The big Ford.
Oh yeah.
If you wouldn't have been rolling, we wouldn't have got any of that footage. I wish we got footage from the outside. I did get
Mm-hmm.
some footage from him at Soggy. He's actually the one that broke front axle. Him and Kendall got it put back together next day, but I was already back to work, so I didn't get that. But um, yeah, I wish we got some shots from the outside of it. But at least you got something from it.
For sure.
But like there was a truck. I think it was day 2. I was on the way to Kendall's camp, and there's truck broken, white truck laid over, and I stopped. I recorded, 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm like, this go make the video. And then when I saw it for the first time, I was kind of heartbroken. I was like, why didn't that make the video? And the second time I watched it, I was, where should this have went? And I got all the way through the video, and I was like, there's really no place it fit, The first time I was sad. I was like, Casey really just kind of screwed me. I got a good shot here. And then the second time I was like, it just didn't fit. It didn't fit because we didn't have no clips to set it up. It didn't fit the trying to think, the theme.
Yeah.
No, the mood.
Kind of
the mood of the video. You know what I mean? It just
even the plot.
right. It was just like it would have just been kind of like a dull moment for a second because it would have had to been forced in somewhere.
Yeah.
I think, but it made a decent short. I think
it made a great short. I was being nosy on the way over, and I couldn't believe how well the Rednecks video is doing or has been doing.
Yeah.
I looked at that as like 500 some watch hours. Like, oh my God.
That's the thing. It doesn't have as many views as the last Rednecks you missed out. And I think that's thumbnail and title because the last one was a broken truck. That's going to get clicks. But it does have better retention, which means it's a
great
better
retention.
It's a better video. And that's what sucks is views doesn't this is one thing that I think I've learned. Views doesn't necessarily mean it's a good video. It means your title and thumbnail made people click. If somebody watches for 2 seconds, it's a view. So I would put retention higher than views. But that's, I think, where I need to learn and develop is making sure I go and get them shots to get views. I don't want to be too clickbaity, Like I want to, if I'm going to put something on, I want to be good content. And I think it's getting better, the content, especially with you editing it. So I'll clickbait enough to get views, but if you see it on the title, you see it in the thumbnail, it's going to be in the video, I don't want to just be way out there like some of them do. We've all seen those videos.
Sure.
You click on it and you're just like, this wasn't anything close to what I clicked on.
But wouldn't you think the retention rate on those are just dog poo?
Yeah, but click-through rate, I think, is what keeps them getting views.
But if they drop out at 30 seconds on a 5-minute video, that can't tell YouTube that it's a good video.
No, but a lot of ads go before the video. So there's still ad revenue, even on a terrible video.
Yeah.
And I think YouTube, like anything else, is a business. So it's not necessarily what's great for views. I mean, that is important. What's great for audience retention, but I also think it's what's good for making money. I think that's why A lot of YouTubers are posting a lot of shorts because, and they'll link their shorts together. Is if you can keep them going and keep them going, even if they don't stay on your videos, if they keep what stay on a video, if they keep on your videos, they're staying on the platform longer. And I think that's kind of where I need to start getting is some of my videos are like kind of time sensitive, because I'm like Rednecks. You got to post it within so long of it, or you got to figure out how to make it, what's the term they use? Evergreen, where a year from now somebody will watch it. 10 years from now somebody will watch it. If you make a video how to tie a tie, somebody will always watch that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, somebody's always going to need that information.
So, with like some of the events I go to, I was just putting the event name in the year, and it's like 6 months down the road, is that as interesting as the event that just happened last week?
I mean, I feel like it's good when it's a recent thing because people want to see fall 2024
Right.
Rednecks, so you kind of have to.
Right. But
yeah, longevity, it doesn't help.
Yeah, and the events isn't all that I'm going for, but it got us a good start.
Yeah.
And it is something that I'm going to continue to do, but it's not what I want to make the content about. That's actually somewhere where I'm kind of at a crossroads right now because I don't know. I know I want to stay in the automotive realm. I just got power in the shop. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the shop, but I don't know if I want to post just shop content, if I want to ixnay all that and enjoy my time in the shop, because I do enjoy wrenching. I enjoy wrenching when I want to. I don't enjoy wrenching when I have to.
And in peace without setting up this camera. Right. Is my audio okay?
But I know I'm not, I got 2 kids. I know I'm not going to go to an event every weekend. So it's like, if I just do that, one, I'm kind of recording the same content that anybody at that event with a camera can get. I mean, we can always put our own spin on it, but we're not just like exclusive what we do. We're in the shop. It's just me. You know what I mean? So I think there's always going to be content of the events, but I think I'm going to have to break off into content in the shop to keep consistent. And so I don't know. I'm at a crossroads. I kind of want to educate, but
not how to.
Not how to, because at the end of the day, I can wrench on stuff, but not enough. I'm not that smart. Everything I know is either taught to me by my dad. He was a mechanic, diesel mechanic, or was self-taught. And so, like, I can't sit here and tell you how to do everything properly because I'm pretty confident everything I do is not, to a T proper. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think you'll figure it out, and I think going back to my earlier compliment, it's about the consistency. It's about having a video there when somebody clicks, and it's not somebody else's video that's being recommended. It's your video that's being recommended, whether it's a home run or just I don't know baseball terms, a single, one run dude to first base.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's like a win. You got somebody on base. That's still a win, even though it's not a grand slam.
Well, and that's where I think like leaning on the shop content side of things. I've met a lot of people last year and a half, and it seems like when I have conversations with those people, it's not, oh, you did this and this video that did really well. It's like they'll mention something on one of my videos that has less than 1,000 views, which tells me there are a group of people that watch most of what I'm not arrogant enough to say they watch everything, right? I'm not that big, but they watch most of what I know because it's not the content, the what we do is exciting, but they're there to see the character. They're there to see me. And that's what Slowmotion is. Slowmotion is a character. It's an extension of me, you could say. It's not necessarily a character. I'm a fairly I'm trying to think of the word, simple person. I don't get like hyped up all the time. I'm just kind of content most of the time. So when I turn into Slowmotion, everything gets amplified. Things are more exciting, and I'm not like completely forcing it. It's not like it's a completely different person, but Slowmotion is an amplified version of me, is what it is. It actually started out at Slowmotion is my CB handle. I drive a truck for a living, and I'm trying to think. It was back when I first started pulling a hopper bottom. I was running with some old school guys, and we were on a 2-lane road, no shoulder, and I didn't have a whole lot of truck driving experience at that point. I was like 2 years, and we're moving at a fairly high rate of speed. I'll just put it at that point. And I reached the limit of my comfort zone. And so I kept where I was at. Well, they started walking off and leaving me, and they just kept for like a week. It was like, come on, Slowmotion, come on, Slowmotion, we got stuff to do. And so I just grabbed it. I was like, you know what? That's who I am, Slowmotion. And it just kind of stuck. And now I talk to a lot of guys on the radio. I know a lot. I got a lot of trucker friends, and so that's who I am. I'm Slowmotion at work. Now I'm Slowmotion when I play.
I think it's becoming kind of iconic because you use it in every single video. Usually in the intro and the outro, it is I'm Dakota. They call me Slowmotion, and it's becoming like this iconic signature that you have for anything you do, which is funny to me.
Well, I sit in the truck all day, so I got plenty of time to listen, and there's a whole world full of people that are smarter than me. So I'm not doing this YouTube thing trying to carve I am trying to carve my own path, but I'm not trying to figure everything out. It's already been figured out. You know, there's a blueprint. You just got to figure out what it is. And that's one thing that I've noticed is the big content creators, YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, influencers. I don't want to be an influencer. I don't like that. Content creators, we'll go to that.
I like that.
They don't refer to their name, their YouTube channel as you know, a YouTube channel. It's my brand. And so Slowmotion is the brand, and brand recognition is important. You see it in advertisement all the time, you know? And so that's why I try to put it at the beginning of every video or the end, because it's just, if you've watched more than one of the videos, it's just brand recognition, you
Yeah.
know? And so I'm nobody, but if we're going to grow to be something, we got to have some kind of brand recognition. And that's where, like, you know, this cup, I haven't started on merch. I want to do some, but I don't want to just try to take everybody's money, because I don't want to be that way. But I'm trying to think. But you know, you do need some brand recognition. So for me, there's a fine line. I don't want to just fund my off-road habit, if you will, with everybody else's money. I don't feel bad getting the ad revenue, right? Because to me, that's how YouTube
It's like
pays.
corporate money. Who
Right,
cares?
right. But when I sell you a T-shirt for $50, you know what I mean?
I mean, I do, but I think it's a faulty mindset because I think people want to support, they want to help people who give them something, and you're giving people entertainment, and you're giving people a friendly, somebody they can go to YouTube and feel like they're hanging out with you. And so, I mean, in my experience, I feel like people want to help what they want to support. So if they want to, like, man, Slowmotion doesn't post as much as I want him to, maybe they'd be willing to buy some merch, represent you, free advertising, represent you, give you that money to support you. And so, like, hey man, if this helps you make one video a week, I'll happily do that. I would pay money out of my own pocket to wear Slowmotion merch. I mean, it's their choice. You don't have to like hawk your merch on every single video. Oh, don't forget, link in bio, we got merch. You don't have to do that, but you can always just leave it there. It's there if people want to explore it. I would fully support it, and I think you should do merch, even if it's not flying off the shelves, even if it's not whatever, $50 a shirt.
Right.
It's a little steep, but
That was a little high. You know, I might have went exaggerated that.
yeah,
I like that point of view. I think the mindset. I think you're right. The mindset's a little bit flawed. I think for me, it's not that I won't ever do merch. I don't feel like I've earned it yet. I guess I don't feel like I'm to a point where I can sell a shirt, even if I wouldn't sell it for $50, even if I did. But
right.
I don't I don't know if I don't know why. It's just a mindset I have. Like, I got to get to a point, and I don't even have a number, but I got to get to a point where I'm making enough content, I'm making enough good content, and I have enough subscribers that it's like, okay, I've earned the point to sell merch. And it's probably a flawed mindset. I mean, it really is.
I mean, that's fair. I would argue if you see yourself doing this in the future and continuing it, then what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a point, sure, that an undecided point, which is not good because then it's like
What's the
where,
goal?
and how. But if you see yourself doing this in 10 years, I don't. It's like, what are you waiting on? And that's just my opinion.
Well, no, that's a good thought. And I think it is a little bit of a flawed mindset. I don't know. It's like I don't deserve it. I think what I need to do is I need to pick something that no matter who you are, male, female, big, small, it'll work. Something like a hat, maybe, and just start small
Yeah, that's a good idea.
and just one thing. And like you said, don't shove it down their throat. Hey, it's available for the people that really want to. And at the end of the day, I mean, I guess you're right. It's free market. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, just know that every dollar we've made so far, it's went right back into the channel. And that's what it'll do. That's what it'll probably always do. I don't think I'll ever get, I ain't going to be opposed to it, but I don't think I'll ever get so big that it's like full-time job making a bunch of money. But if I could offset the cost of the toys, I'm just going to turn around and buy more toys.
Yeah.
And buy bigger toys, you know?
Well, I think the next like dream, being in your shoes, you know, I would think is we have Rednecks coming up. With this video, it's going to pay for the trip. Like that would be incredible.
Yes.
I don't know, a couple hundred, put it lightly.
Yeah.
To get down there to camp, all that stuff, couple hundred easy. If you could make a couple hundred off 2-3 videos, it's like that would be so killer. And if you want to be the real big dick of the pit, it would be, it's an event at Rednecks. It would be,
disclaimer.
You know what people, give out? They'll give out koozies. Okay, great. Everybody's got koozies. They'll give out, if you gave out hats, slow motion hats, like, yeah, it's at cost to you.
Yeah.
But people shit themselves for hats or, like wearable,
yeah,
anything.
Yeah.
Like, so if you wanted to do that, that would be, you can't do it if you don't have merch, but if you have a box of hats, you ordered 50 hats and you sold 5 of them online. It's like, let's take 10 of those down to Rednecks and just, pass them out. Dude, sweet truck. There you go.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, dude in the sweet truck is wearing your hat and he's getting filmed, or,
yeah, that's
cool. You never know. But
you really don't. And that's a good idea. It really is.
Well, you kind of answered. Tell me the origin of slow motion. So we got that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Listen, I sit in a truck all day, man, and I do talk to people. But yeah, I like to talk about anything. I like to talk about myself, and as much alone time as I get, if I get a chance to talk, dude, I'll just keep going and going and going because I don't get a whole lot of human interaction or adult interaction. It's just me in that truck, and the truck don't talk back. And when it does, it's not good.
It's complaining.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm broken.
Well, that is one reason I was excited to have you on. Some people, especially kind of like I consider you a public figure in the sense that you put yourself out there willingly.
Yeah.
So then, and you were so good at that when we started because we were buddies before, but we really got close when you kind of brought me on the YouTube thing. That's whenever we really got tight. If, through my hindsight, that's what happened. And then we got tight, but having kind of filmed before, been around people, you put a camera in some people's face, dude. I mean, you've seen it. They freeze up.
Yeah.
They don't know what, they just real quiet. And there was never any of that with you. I think slow motion, immediately, as soon as you saw that red light flicking, slow motion came out, and there was no trouble with like, maybe you don't want to be filmed right now. You always took it in stride.
Yeah.
You always said, okay, you're filming. Okay. And it was just like go time.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that so much because I was hoping it wasn't going to be this like scenario of pulling teeth, trying to get you to do something, like cameras are rolling, do anything. And it was never like that. You always just took it. So props to that.
Go watch my first couple videos.
It's the beauty of it. Growth.
The camera, it's intimidating. It really is. I look at the camera and I go, I'm talking to the world. And that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave me permission to talk to the world? I shouldn't be able to talk to her. I'm nobody, you know? And so I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, that's a lot. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. And I don't remember who it was. It was a podcast of some sort, talk show of some sort with another YouTuber. And I've listened to so many YouTubers talk. I just got time, just drive down the road, listen to people talk. They said, find somebody you know and talk to them. And so that's what I do.
Ooh.
When I'm talking directly to the camera, it's funny. There's a lot of people in my life. I'm talking to my little brother. And I don't know why. I got 5 siblings. But I try to teach him a lot. And most of the time it's not even asked for. And he lets me know, I'm not even asking for it. But that's, for the most part, the camera. That's what it is. A lot of my early videos were actually recorded with him too, so it made it easier. I was talking to my little brother, but I was also talking to my little
You were
brother.
literally talking to your little brother.
And that, I think that's part of why it is. But when I stare at the camera and just talk, which I don't do a lot, but when I stare straight at the camera and talk, that's in my head. I talk to my little brother.
I think you're good at that too, because like if you're in the buggy and we're ripping and roaring, it's like you just kind of be funny and just you're kind of focusing on something else.
Yeah.
But when you do talk to the camera, it's like, dude, I think you talk straight to it, and there's not like this weird beating around the bush kind of thing, like some people do. I won't mention names, but yeah, I just thought you've always been really like well spoken on camera and comfortable too, because I've done a few things to where I'm extremely uncomfortable and it reads so clearly through the video. It's like rewatching it, I'm just looking at myself like, you might as well see the bead of sweat slowly coming down, because I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I'm so uncomfortable, and I just feel like there was never that with you. So good job on that.
I definitely feel like I'm getting better. I definitely don't have everything, grasped by any means. If I did, it'd be a lot bigger. But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in the last year. One thing that I really feel, and I need to get another camera. All of my cameras are GoPro. My brother, I got a lot of footage from him early on, filmed with an iPhone, and I'm not an iPhone guy, but you can't deny the footage. You just can't, especially if you got a zoom. But one thing that I really failed at, like the GoPro, like what you got over here, is my screen's on. And when I'm talking to the GoPro camera, instead of looking at the lens, I would look at the screen to the side. And you can see that when you're watching the video. It's like you're not looking at the camera, you're just looking slightly to the side, and it just looks so off. And you're the one that's told me several times, you're like, you got to look at the lens. So I've learned a lot from the internet, but I've learned a lot from you.
I've learned a lot from you too, buddy, and more than just YouTube. So I'm gonna wait on that one. Let's get into a little bit of childhood here.
I'm still a child.
I like to hear it. 30-year-old child. What are you, 29?
29. I'll be 30 in March.
Okay,
Still feel
up.
like a kid. I don't know at what point you feel like an adult, but I'm not there yet.
Like what aspect? How do you feel like a kid? At 29 with 2 kids, married for how long? Paying your own bills for how long? Bought a house, bought land.
We've been married 5 years, September. Actually, the day we got back from Rednecks was my anniversary.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
But together for like 10, right?
We've been together since high school, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Been a while.
So how do you feel like a kid still? Where?
I don't think that's proper. I went to Riverton. So my education level, I do have a high school education, but I have a Riverton high school
superior education.
Just need to, superior, inferior, however you look at it. Anyway, dang it, man. I have responsibilities, right? I got a house payment. I have kids. I love my kids. Financially, kids for a lot of people are a burden. They're an expense. There's no denying that. But if you're going to have kids, you get everything that comes with it. If not, why have kids? I have a wife. She's the responsible one. I don't know. I mean, I take care of everything. I take care of the kids. I take care of the bills. I take care of what needs taken care of. But to me, those are just like boxes to check. And I don't know. I see people my age and they seem to feel, yeah, I'm like walk way away from this. They seem to me from the outside looking in more mature than me in the way they act. Like, yes, I'm mature because I got responsibilities and I take care of them, but like that's just part of being an adult, which is the opposite of what I said. But on a number, I'm 29, so I am an adult, but I just don't feel like an adult. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
That's interesting. I mean, I know what you're saying, and I know where you're coming from. I was hoping you could put it into words
I wish I
because
could.
it was only after, like, honestly, I don't. It was post 30. I'm not gonna say it was like my 30th birthday, but it was like post 30 to where I don't think I woke up feeling like an adult, but there was like a transition period that something happened to where I look at myself in the mirror, I look at myself and how I behave in public and that regard, and it's like, dude, yeah, you're like a full-fledged adult. Like
Yeah.
you can make the adult call, you can make the judgment call, that an adult would make. And there was like definitely a recent switch that happened to where I don't feel like a kid anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's a 30 thing. I don't know.
Well, see, I don't feel like a child, like a 6-year-old. I feel like I'm mentally like stuck as a teenager. Like I'm not necessarily the party side of things, but like
Mm-hmm.
I just want to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's me mischaracterizing it, saying, "Oh, I'm not being an adult," but maybe it's just me going a little bit against the grain of you can be an adult, you can have responsibilities. You don't have to be blah. You don't have to be boring. You don't have to just I go in, I punch a clock, I go home. You know what I mean? Like I got responsibilities, I got chores, but we can still have fun. And there's plenty of times where I don't. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of times where it's just like this is straight work
Yeah,
and this sucks.
but it has to be done.
Right. So you get through it so you can go back to having fun.
Yeah, I mean, is there like a preconception there or a societal norm that we're taught that like a adult needs to have bags under his eyes and just be tired perpetually
And just everything sucks, right?
and everything sucks?
If everything doesn't suck, are you an adult? Are you even an adult? I mean, I could go, dude. I could probably go on a 2-hour podcast on if you do everything normal, your life's gonna suck. Everything that society deems abnormal is like great for you. You go to the gym every week. It's like, oh, he's a gym guy. What's wrong with that? You read a bunch and you try to learn as much as you can. Oh, he's a nerd. What's wrong with being educated? You know what I mean? Like everything that's good for you is not normal. Um, Me and Autumn, and I don't want to get too much off on a tangent here because like I said, I just talk and talk and talk.
Tangent, buddy. We got time.
Me and Autumn just recently paid off debt. Most of it was credit card debt, useless credit card debt. It started when I started YouTube. I used YouTube. I blamed YouTube, or I used YouTube as a crutch to allow me to go into debt. And I created most of it. And I've always paid all of our bills. I didn't want my wife to stress about it. And she's done the stay-at-home mom thing a lot. She works at the school now, so she's on the kids' schedule, which is great. But obviously, I make more because her being home with the kids allows me to do all the work that makes money. I make the amount of money I make not because it's me, it's because it's us, right? Her doing the practices, her taking Olivia to ballet, her doing she used to tell me, she said, well, you make all the money, you pay all the bills. I'm like, and you do everything else. Being married, I mean, you're a team. But anyway, back to the money thing. We recently paid off $16,000 in debt. 6 months. Paid off in 6 months. You know what changed 6 months ago? When my check comes in, Autumn puts it in the bank. We sit down. The first time we sat down together, I did the budget. Here's how things work. So she could understand, right? The next time I got paid, she did the budget. And she's done our budget ever since. I got us $16,000 in debt in a year and a half. She got us out of $16,000 in debt in 6 months. So if you got a spouse, you're together, you're one. We communicate well. We've been one on everything, but I never wanted her to stress about money. So I've never missed a payment. I did rack up some credit card debt, but I never missed a payment. I remember the day she said, "So okay, so what's the house payment?" And I told her how much it was, and she was like, she works at school. She added up. She's like, if we put my whole check every week, I couldn't make the house payment with just my check. And it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. But once she got all the numbers and gathered everything, there was so many things that we were wasting money on we didn't even realize. Like, I'll tell you one. We had a subscription at the car wash for a car that we haven't had for almost 2 years. $20 a month. It was just coming out because I was just paying stuff. I wasn't super focused, and yeah, she's way more detail oriented. We have like 3 calendars at the house. They all have stuff on them. Sports, Olivia's in ballet, birthday parties, you name it. Somebody asked me, "Hey, are you free on this day?" And hold on, let me talk to my wife. And you got to get permission for your wife. No, you don't understand. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's on the calendar, but she does. I'm not asking permission. She doesn't ask permission. We communicate together. She bought an air fryer a month ago, and she calls me. She says, "Hey, this air fryer is like $70. What do you think about it?" And this is where being different than society is good. I said, "Yeah, I mean, we got money left over in the budget, but let's do it. You've been wanting one she's been wanting one for years. Okay, let's get it." And society will look at that as, "Oh, your wife's got to ask permission." But no, it goes both ways. "Hey, what do you think? I want to put these shocks on the buggy. What we've had, it's had its limits. It's now broken. It's $1,000, but it's going to have more flex. You know, it's hopefully going to get some views on YouTube. It's not going to get enough to offset it." And she says, "Can we afford it?" And this was before I bought those shocks before she stepped in to help with the budget. Yeah, we can make it happen. And of course I put it on the credit card and I made it happen. I made the payments, but I I have a hard time telling myself no. So now that we're together on that, if she would have had all the details there, yes, we can get it. Let's take care of this first, and then let's get it. So, and the funniest thing is, I bought those right before we started working together, and I still haven't even put them on. So,
are they in the process of being put on right now?
They're mounted on the bottom side.
Okay.
We didn't have a tubing bender. They're mounted on the top, but the way they're at, it won't be able to articulate right. So we're gonna cut that off and bend the tube the way it needs to be. And that's part of why I got power at the shop. I need to have the tools, and I need to have the tools where I'm at, because I'm at the house all the time. I got Fridays off. I work Sunday through Thursday. I got Fridays off. Wife and the kids are at school. It's just me. That can be almost always shop time. Plus, I got so much broken stuff that needs put back together. So it sucks that it's been delayed as long as it has. But I'm in the process of organizing the shop, getting a workbench out or set up, and trying to get the shop set up. Basically, probably done with the off-roading for the year, and it's probably going to be all shop until next year. It's going to get the buggy dialed in, get the shocks mounted. The front axle's got some pretty nasty leaks, so I want to tear the front axle apart. It's got an open differential. The rear's locked. I want to tear it all apart. I want to lock the front end, and I want to put on those seals, put it back together. And that way, when we go out, and the shocks are mounted, that way when we go out next spring, things are going to break, no doubt. But the big ticket items are solid. And so hopefully we can get through the whole year with, when it breaks, we can fix it over a weekend. It's not, it's down for a month. And even if it is something bigger, well, we have all the tools. We have the welders. We have the power. That was one thing that I've lacked for so long. It's like, I want to keep wrenching, but it's 7 o'clock, the sun's down, I ain't got no light.
Yeah.
So now, like, me and Olivia stayed up working on her 4-wheeler for Soggy Bottom till midnight, it was funny. We got down to Soggy Bottom, and that'll be in the video. But actually, I don't know if we got that recorded or not. I don't think it will be, because when she was riding, we just enjoyed. We didn't record. With my supervision at midnight, she puts the brand new tie rod ends on, and she puts the castle nuts on. She gets them, what I thought was tight, and we continue whatever. The next weekend we go down, and she's riding, and she's like, "Dad, don't turn right." And I'm looking, and the tires are like this. I'm like, "Well, that's not good." The castle nut came off,
Isn't
and
there a locking pin that goes into
yeah,
that?
and the tie rod come off. And I was like, well, she wasn't going very fast. She just puts around on that thing. She's still learning. Um, there's no way in all that sand we're gonna find a castle nut this big. And so I'm like, does anybody got a zip tie or something I can stick through that hole to keep it on and get it back to camp? Dad kind of ruined your weekend by not having everything dialed in. I'm sorry, it's the beginning of day one. We're just gonna have to spectate now. And Kendall was on the dozer. He hops off, and he's like, "You lose the castle nut?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's got to be here somewhere." I was like, "You're never going to find it." We walked for like 5 minutes, and he's like, "There it is." Picks it up. I'm like, "There's no way." So we put it on, and he had a lynch pin in his tool bag, which is for tractors. It's what you put in the pin, and it's got the round collar that snaps down.
Gotcha.
We pulled that round piece out and stuck it in the hole for it, tightened it down, and she went about her day. The next day, I'm riding the four-wheeler, and I'm too big for this thing. I should not be on this four-wheeler. And she's in the Defender with Lena, just putting around. And, hey, listen, Dad's going to show off. I'm going to pop a wheelie on this thing. And so I'm popping wheelies. Again, I shouldn't be on that. I'm way too big for this four-wheeler. I come down off the second wheelie, hear it pop, and tires do this, and the thing squiggles to a stop. And I'm like, I just snapped something up front. We crawl under there, and a different tie rod was out. Castle nut's missing. I'm like, what the heck? Again, we're running the river at this point, and there's no telling. I've been riding for like 10 minutes. There's no telling where that thing come out at, because the nut could have fell off, and then that tie rod come out later. Dude, we walked for like 10 minutes, couldn't find it, and I was like about to give up. And Elena says, "Well, there it is," and grabs it. I'm like, I don't know why these things keep falling off. I crawl under there. We didn't put any carter pins in any of those. And Olivia tightened all the nuts hand tight. We never put a wrench on them. So we got quarter pins in all of them, tightened them all up. And I was just glad that, and I kept giving Olivia crap. I was like, well, you put them on there, and she's like, it was way past my bedtime,
Oh my,
because it was midnight, right? Her bedtime's 8. She's like,
I can hear her saying it right now.
Yeah. And she just kept saying it was way past my bedtime, And at the end of the weekend, I told Kendall and Lena, I was like, I said, you guys saved my nuts. Both of them.
It's true.
Because they found them.
True statement.
There's no way I could have found them things. There was no way. So.
That's crazy that they even tried, because I probably would have been like you. Like, how, why even try?
Yeah.
Why even bother?
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was initially. So, yeah, I mean, they saved Olivia's weekend, and I'm so glad.
That's awesome.
And you'll see it in that footage I sent you. Yeah, I mean, they saved the whole weekend, because we were gonna leave. I have to work on Sunday. We were gonna leave Saturday at like 4. I'm cooking brats. Told Olivia we'll have snack, then we'll roll out. And Olivia's putting around campsite with her 4-wheeler, and Lena comes up. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm cooking these brats because I'm about out of ice in the cooler. They ain't gonna make the trip home. Plus, we gotta eat before we go home." And she's like, "Oh yeah, Kendall wanted food." I'm like, "I'm cooking 5 brats. Olivia's gonna eat one. I'm gonna eat one. Here you go." So, and we're sitting there talking, and Olivia pulls up, and Lena's like, "We're gonna go run the river." And Olivia says, "I want to run the river." I said, "Because all we took was our 4-wheeler."
Little 4-wheeler.
Yeah, little 4-wheeler. Yeah, it's a 150 Chinese 4-wheeler. And yeah, it's not very big at all. And so we take this 4-wheeler, and I told her, so all we got is a 4-wheeler. We can't run the river. Plus, all the big trucks are running. Like, we'll flat get ran over. The lighting on it's not real great. I got a little bit of a flag on it, but it's not a lighted whip, so it's not gonna make a difference at night, And Lena's like, "Well, I can ride with Kendall in the Suburban. You guys can drive the Defender." And Olivia's like, "Can we do it? Can we do it?" And I was like, "I have to work tomorrow. Like, I have to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And it's 4, and we're like 4.5 hours from the house,
Oof.
you know? So I said, I can't. And she looked at me with them eyes and she said, I just want to run the river. And that's all she's wanted to do all weekend. And that's what they call it. They call it running the river. They drive along the river and then they'll cross the river because the sand is on either side of the river, or depending on where it's at, the sand's on one side or the other. So they'll have to cross. And I was like, okay.
How do you say no?
Yeah. And we probably ran the river for, well, I know we didn't leave out of there till about 10 o'clock that night.
Oof.
And that was the first time, besides like a little mule, like Kawasaki mule, that I've driven a side by side. And I've been debating on for a while. We want to get Autumn a rig. Do I want a Jeep? Do I want a side by side? She's real skeptical of off road. She doesn't like anything that feels off. And his side by side's lifted. It's got like 42s on it, which is huge for a side by side. And so I thought, this thing's gonna, dude, even that thing was cushy. And so I imagine a more stock one is going to be, handle even better because his is big, made for the mud. And yeah, that pretty much said it for me. Autumn's getting a side by side. So, but the way we're doing money now, we're not acquiring debt. We got great credit score. We got a heck of a down payment right now, but we're saving up. We're going to pay cash for one. So it's going to delay the gratification, but in the long run, it's going to be worth it. So
for sure.
But yeah, they saved the whole weekend. We had a blast. We rolled out at 10. I'd been up since early that morning, and we made it about an hour and a half up the road. I hit a rest area. Normally I'll push it at that point, but I had Olivia with me, and I'm like, it ain't worth it. So I hit a
push it with me.
Yeah, I'll push it with you. Yeah, but yeah, you're not wrong. He's like, just a couple months ago.
I remember my first Rednecks trip. Anyway,
we almost died. We almost didn't make it back, but that's a whole nother story. And so I hit a rest area. I took like an hour and a half nap. Went another hour up the road, hour and a half up the road. Took another nap. Slept till like 3 o'clock, and I'm 2 hours from the house, and I got to leave for work at 5.
You slept in the truck?
In my pickup, front seat of my pickup.
Because everybody else was passed out?
It was just me and Olivia on that trip.
Olivia was passed out?
Yeah, she passed out like right after we left. I was
like,
hey, you said you were going to stay up.
You're my wingman here.
Yeah, you're doing terrible. She's in the back seat like sawing logs. Hey, it's past my bedtime, Dad. What are you doing? This is where Autumn's the responsible one.
Yeah.
But so I pulled over again. Again, I think I could have made it, but it wasn't worth it. So I got up about 2 hours from the house, beeline straight to the house, ran in, took a shower real quick, because we're down at the river. Took a shower real quick, jumped in the truck, and I drove almost 600 miles a day. It was like 590 miles on top of the 2 hours I drove home for that. Dude, I was dragging by the end of the day. And when I got home, Olivia went to her grandma's house because Autumn had some errands to run. Grandma and Grandpa's house because Autumn had some errands to run. And Autumn got back, and she's told everybody, She's like, I fixed my four-wheeler, and we drove it all weekend, and the tie rod popped off, and we ran the river with Kendall and Lena, and Dad got to drive, and did I tell you we ran and there was a truck that broke, and there was another truck that broke, and it was worth it.
Hindsight.
I was like, at that point, I was like, because I was debating when I was sleeping in the front seat of this truck at a rest area, like, why did I do this? That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Because I'll do it every time, I'm gonna eat those words.
No, it's hindsight. It's today when you're rested and recovered, you look back and you remember Olivia's words.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, that was painful and worth every second of it.
Literally painful. The seat in my pickup truck is not made to sleep in at all. Not even a little bit.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad it was good for you. Good for her too. Better for her, sounds like.
Well, and like we normally do stuff together as a family. It's nice. It's nice when I get to take one kid or the other because I feel like I get to get closer to the kids at that point because I'm not trying to I almost feel like when I have both, and it's impossible, but at some point it's like, oh, well, I've paid more attention to this one. I got to switch over here, even though this one's having fun what they're doing. I have to make sure I'm giving equal dad time because I don't want to be you got favorites. But I tell you this, I got 2 kids, Olivia and Jeremy. Jeremy's my favorite boy. Olivia's my favorite girl.
Easy as that. Easy as that. Not to stick on financial, you just said one thing.
No, listen, I could talk all day about finances. I love finance.
Well, you mentioned to me one time that stuck with me about, I mean, you made the point here that you avoided bringing in Autumn, your wife, to the finances to, separate her from the stressful situation of what finances can be.
Yeah.
And it was when you brought her in that actually brought both of you closer in your relationship, that it actually like elevated your communication and elevated how close you were whenever it was a good intent. You were just trying to save her from the misery of running numbers and saying, no, we can't afford that. Or yeah, we can, but I got to work for that shit. And it was after you guys came together with that actually really elevated your relationship to like another level after 5 years of marriage and 10 years of being together.
Yeah. Yeah. So not only did it elevate our communication like crazy, but it had this crazy byproduct of finances aren't stressful for me anymore. I don't stress about it. She was able to look at the numbers and say, hey, you realize this, and this is blowing this amount of money that like we could just put into savings, or we could put towards these credit cards that we probably shouldn't have a balance on, And no, it had this crazy byproduct of, my wife deserves, hey, I want to go out to eat. My wife cooks dinner every night. My wife deserves to go out to eat if she wants to go out to eat. Whether the money's there or not, let's swipe the credit card. I'll make it happen because my wife deserves. Listen, my wife deserves to go out to eat at any point she wants. My wife deserves a brand new car. My wife deserves a big house. And I don't disagree with any of those statements. The problem is I haven't earned the money to buy her a new car. I can get one on payments, but payments aren't you earning it. It's you saying down the road I'm going to earn it. If there's no money in the bank, my wife deserves to go out to eat, but if we don't have any money, we haven't earned it. And so that's the distinction I started making. There's no doubt any mom with kids deserves a brand new car. The amount of stress that a mom goes through, listen, dude, paying bills is easy. Okay? Going to work is easy. I go to work, I do the same thing every day. I drag my loads, I deliver my loads, I go home. My wife gets the kids ready because I leave before they get up. My wife takes the kids to school. She's lunch lady. She serves all the kids. She serves like 1,000 kids a day. I don't really know how many kids are in the school. It's a smaller school, probably like 600 kids. After school, it's soccer. We're doing basketball signups tomorrow, so it's soccer, basketball, ballet. Olivia's in ballet. Kids got friends. Taking them to friends' house, taking them to birthday parties, taking them to get birthday presents for the birthday parties. You name it. There's not a day of the week that she doesn't have something scheduled. So, no, every mom deserves a new car, but we haven't earned it. And the funniest thing is, my wife had a new car at one point. I totaled it. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. I totaled the car 2.5 years ago. No, it's October. It's been almost 3 years ago. It was in November. It was a nice car. She had a 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz. She wanted a little bit of truck bed, so she called stuff. Before that, she had a 2019 Chrysler 300. Love that car. Oh my gosh, love that car. Now my wife drives a 2005 Buick LeSabre with over 200,000 miles on it. And you know what? She told me the other day, she said, I like this car better than the other two. I said, there's no way. I said, listen, that Chrysler had heated air conditioned seats. It had a moonroof. Dude, the cup holders were heated and cooled.
Whoa.
Yeah. If there was it had literally almost every option you could get. And it was a beautiful shade of red, big 20-inch wheels. I said, why? She said, you don't make me wash it every week. You don't complain if the kids get the back seat dirty. She said, we don't have the dog anymore. Dog used to crawl up and sleep on top of the car. She said, "You don't complain about anything." She said, "I haven't washed this car in 6 months. You haven't said a word." I said, "Babe, we paid $2,000 for that car. I don't care, like at all." And so that she actually likes the car more. She said, "I don't park in the back at Walmart. I park wherever I want. What are they gonna do? Scratch my car?
Right.
What do you freaking do?"
Right.
So there's a certain peace that comes with driving a beater, and a beater car doesn't have to be a POS, right? It's got some dents and scratches, but it's got good tires on it. It's got good brakes. Um, we've rebuilt a lot of the front end in the last. She's had it like 2.5 years. Um, Everything's tight, fresh alignment. Mechanically, everything works besides the passenger window, which I was going to fix at the same time we started doing our budget together. And she went, $200 for a new motor for that window. The other three rolled down. We ain't doing that. And she won't let me fix it. Dude, it kills me. The window won't roll down. She won't let me fix it because it's a waste of money. And it's her car.
Yeah.
She's part of the budget. She's not wrong. And I don't drive the car. So if she's content with it, leave it.
Well, that's a great segue into something I wasn't going to talk about, but I have to now. How Rednecks, and you in particular, both you and Rednecks, has changed my perspective on like a new vehicle versus an old vehicle. And we go down to Rednecks for our first time a year or two ago now, and you're completely expecting something to break.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why, like, there's risk involved. Why would you want to participate in this risk? And throughout the community that is Rednecks, things break. Every single time, it is without fail, things break. And the beauty of it is, I think that like resonated with me is it's like, okay, we'll fix it. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's not a big deal. Probably because it is a beater. Oh, this whole thing, you dented the door, big whoop, axle broke. Okay. I just love the attitude that is the community of Rednecks, that you drive probably a piece of shit and it's probably going to break, and that's okay. And so now I drive a 1990 K1500. We had this conversation the other day where I was like, I don't know, do I get something else? Do I trade that, sell it and then get something else? And at this point, I've completely embraced it. I've just upgraded all the lights, so like now I can see at night. I have nice LEDs.
I seen that when I pulled up. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, those ain't the stock lights.
Nope.
I like the black housing. It looks good. I like it.
Yeah. So I did all that. It's all LED now. Like you said, tires are fine. It brakes fine. Motor's pretty, we've messed with the motor before.
Oh, yeah, it's
a brand new ignition system. Like, things happen. Yeah. Ignition cost me $200 or something. Bunch of labor with us. Great video. Go watch it on Slowmotion Garage channel. But I don't know if I'll ever have like a newer vehicle after spending time with you and going to Rednecks. I think I'll always opt for an old vehicle, and I'll do what I want to it to customize it and kind of make it my own. But the fixes are cheaper. Things seem to go wrong less often, and I think probably it's just less options. If you have the heated cup holder, that's one more thing to go wrong.
Yep.
And cause an issue with this because the heated cup holders don't work now. You just don't have that in old vehicles.
Well, that's actually part of why I traded that car in. It didn't have any issues yet, but it was getting up there. I think it had like 70,000 miles. I was scared because everything, the heater, the air conditioning, the seats, the sunroof, everything operated through the touchscreen. And I was like, man,
Oof.
if that failed, you know what I mean? That's everything.
Yeah.
Besides the car actually driving down the road, it's everything. Even the back seats had seat heaters in them.
Well, and the car driving down the road, that's what you need,
that's
right?
Literally all you need.
That's what
the car
you
has
need.
one purpose, to get you. Now, here's to move you. Here's the thing though. You can drive an older. There's a difference between an old car and a POS. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I've had a POS.
Mm-hmm.
I actually drove one here. I got the old 70
Dude,
Chevy.
that thing has taken me down to Texas many times.
No. I drove the old 70 Chevy.
Oh,
the old 1970.
You didn't drive to the GMC.
I've been driving it all day. I wanted to get in that mindset. That truck just gets me in a great mood. It is my favorite vehicle by all definitions, it's a POS. Actually, by all definitions, it's technically totaled, you know? But that's a whole nother story. But it's my favorite thing to drive. But anyway, but the silver truck, besides the rust, again, everything works. Air conditioning even works, you know, 4-wheel drive works,
Mm-hmm.
push button, you know. But it's probably worth $2,500. You know, I might convince somebody to give me $4,000 for it, but I got $2,500 in transfer case, you know.
Yeah.
But there, you can drive an older vehicle and everything still function, you know. So yeah, if a car's got one purpose to get you from A to B, why do you need to spend $70,000 on a truck? Why do you need to spend $50,000 on a car? Why? Especially when you look at people, and I was one of those people, make $70,000 a year driving a $50,000 car. That doesn't pencil out.
Mm.
Don't you want to do other things with your money?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like make your house payment, you know, buy groceries.
And what's it for too? I'm in the lawn care business, or at least have been in the past, and it's keeping up with the Joneses. And I see a direct correlation to driving a nice vehicle. It's like, what are people gonna think if I'm driving this?
Well, that's the problem, and I fell into that up until 2 years ago because I want to keep my wife in a new car. Listen, I'm not a bad husband. My wife's gonna drive something nice. If your wife doesn't drive something nice, you're a bad husband. You
Mm.
know. So listen. I'm a good husband. My wife's gonna have a good car. You know. For whatever reason, as Americans, and I was bad about this, your car is somehow your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to customize things, but listen, if you drive an old beat up car, oh, this guy, you know, stay away from him, you know, freaking hide your children. You know, he showed up in a freaking 30-year-old 1990 Silverado, you know, and he's got a camper shell on the back. What kind of nefarious things going on over
Gotta be
there?
85 years old.
There's something crazy with this, you know, and it's just like, your car is not you. Your car is a tool. And this comes from a guy that loves cars. I'm a car guy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got a family, when you got other payments, when you got other bills, why would you, next to a house, a car for a lot of people is the second biggest purchase they make.
Mm.
Why? You know, it's the biggest purchase we make that goes down in value, right? Houses will at least appreciate.
Sure.
So you spend $50,000 on a car, go to trade it in 2 years later, it's worth 30. You still owe 40 on it. Oh, well, you got 10,000 of negative equity. Oh, roll it into the next one. Now you got 20,000 of negative equity. For what? So you can impress somebody at a stoplight? You know? I guarantee they seen 40 other trucks identical years roll by, and they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Well, you gave me the best advice. You obliterated my argument of why I wanted a new vehicle. And I'm single, been single, I don't know, 6 years. And I was like, if I jump back into dating, what's a girl going to think? I roll up in a 90 K 1500. It's in good shape for the year, but it's
a great shape
it's a 1990. It's just an old school grandpa looking vehicle. What are they going to think? And it's like, you basically said, like, do you want the girl to judge if she likes you or not based off your vehicle? Like, what does that say about her?
Yeah, it's so shallow. It's
so shallow.
It's so shallow both ways, though. It's shallow to think, well, if I don't have a new car, I'm nobody. It's a tool, man. You know, it's like saying I'm a mechanic. If I don't have Snap on, am I really a mechanic? You know, it doesn't matter. You know, as long as the tool gets the job done, it doesn't matter.
If you got the Walmart Heart brand,
Yeah, I mean,
are you still wrenching?
Dude, I've seen mechanics that got some 30-year-old toolbox and it's small. But man, they are the smartest guys you've ever met, you know? And I've seen guys that got $100,000 worth of Snap on, and you're like, I'll change my own spark plug.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like, I'm glad you got the tools. I wish you knew how to use them,
Yeah.
you know? So, but my dad's got a lot of tools. I can tell you the Snap-on's great quality tools. He doesn't have very many Snap-on, but the tools that they feel better in your hand. That I would say for a person that wrenches day in and day out, I get the reason for Snap-on. It's like the wrenches. You buy a cheap wrench and you put a lot of pressure on it. It kind of feels like it cuts into your hand. But like the Snap-on wrenches, they feel better when you're using them. It's just So I get the hype behind it, but if I ever come into money, I'll have some Snap-on tools. I won't buy everything
Yeah.
Snap-on. But it's just, I don't understand it with the car. Like Autumn's car. With everything we've placed, put tires on, we're probably in her car $4,000, but she's had it on what 2.5 years. I think we bought it January or February after I totaled the car, so it's been like 2 years, 9 months or something.
Okay.
Either way, I mean that pencils out to what, like $1,300 a year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, plus, one thing we haven't even talked about on new cars, insurance. My
Mm-hmm.
insurance is a third of what it used to be with full coverage.
Yeah.
And hopefully it never happens, but she told us the car tomorrow. As long as she's all right, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll go spend another $2,000 buy another one.
I think mine is legit like $90 for 6 months.
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
It is nothing.
And then you get in the middle of town and you come up with somebody that's got road rage. They got a $40,000 car. You're like, listen, dude, this thing KBB's. I couldn't trade this thing for a Cracker Jack box. Come on at it,
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna do nothing. That 70 Chevy I got, I was in the school parking lot, and this was before it was running a little better. This was before it's running a little better. It's running a little better now, but it's still worn out. Anyway, I'd have to sit there for 10 minutes, foot on the gas, keeping it running till it warmed up, or it would not stay running. So I'm sitting there, foot on the gas, it's just, and I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I feel a lurch forward, and I'm like, what the hell? Shut the truck off, put it in gear, no parking brakes. I had to put it in gear. It's manual, so it didn't roll. And I get out, and there's this Honda Civic, and there's a girl I went to school with. She was older than me. I was freshman in high school. She was older than me. I didn't know her, but she's probably a senior.
I must know this girl.
She was a senior or junior, and dude, the front bumper's hanging off the car, radiator's leaking. And
hers?
Yeah. And she hit the back bumper of my truck. And I get out and I look and I'm like, oh no. Are you all right? She's like, yeah. She's like, her car was a manual too, which I thought was kind of cool. She thought she was in first. She was in first. She lurched forward, rear into my truck. Dude, I look. There's a scratch in the paint on my rear bumper, and her plastic bumper's hanging off. Radiator's leaking. And she's like, I gotta call my dad. She calls her dad, and her dad's like, she's got him on speakerphone. He's like, give him a copy of your insurance and whatnot so he can make a claim and whatnot. And I told him straight up on the phone, I was like, there's no damage to my truck. I said, I don't care. And he's like, are you sure? She's like, are you sure? I'm like, what are you going to do? I said, this is vintage. I said, I can't find a bumper this rusty if I look, and a new bumper wouldn't look right on this. It didn't even, it scratched the paint. That was it, but like, you don't care. Or even at Rednecks, that Jeep. Remember a guy backed into the front of the Jeep with a side-by-side? Were you standing there when that happened?
I don't think so.
Jake was there.
Maybe.
So we're sitting, it was right where we'd parked the Jeep the last night. And some guy was sitting up top in a Polaris Ranger, brand new Polaris Ranger. And he starts rolling down the hill, and you can see him. He's just stomping the brake, and it's not stopping. And it just rolls.
I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
And he rolls into the front, and it cracks the grill. Not major, just cracks it. And it busts his taillight on us. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I looked at the Jeep, and I went, there's just a certain peace that comes with it. And then I looked it up, dude. The taillights on I can't remember what it was, but the taillights on those, because it was LED, the taillights on those Rangers are expensive. I'm sitting there going, dude, I got a crack in this plastic grill, and this guy's out a bunch of money, There's a certain peace that comes with driving.
There definitely is. And at Rednecks, it's like, what do you signed all your rights away.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Like, you know what you were coming into. Do you remember what that accident was? Yeah, I remember what you were talking about now. It was late at night.
Yeah.
What did he think he was in drive or something?
No, his brakes went out. So he started rolling down the hill. He couldn't stop. So we stopped because we were halfway down the hill. We stopped him. And, then he took off, and I'm sure somebody else stopped him later on that night. Somebody had to have, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Rednecks is wild.
It's wild. It's an adventure. It's not all crashes, but there is a certain level of liability, and, you sign the waiver.
Yeah. You did sign the waiver. That's the best quote. Okay, I got a lot written down here, but we've been having a good talk. I don't want to force it any which way. Let's just stick on Rednecks. Do you have a favorite memory from Rednecks, or a notable memory?
I got a lot.
I know you have a lot.
I got
You got one that sticks out.
I got one that sticks out.
The Maryland couple that blew your motor.
Yeah. That's one. Well, I got one. It's related to Rednecks, but we hadn't made it to Rednecks yet.
Okay.
So, we're looking. We're on our way to Rednecks, and we're looking to stock the cooler before we get there. We're looking for some tequila because my missus wants some tequila. And liquor stores are closed, and we stopped at a couple gas stations and realized, okay, you can't get liquor at the gas station, so whatever. We're just gonna drive there. We'll hit a liquor store in the morning, no big deal. And we're driving down the road, and I guess to put this in perspective, because I hadn't had my trailer brakes wired up until that point, because I just got that going, just got the new trailer brakes and got it all wired up. So we were just truck brakes at the time. You remember them sketchy trips?
Yep.
We scaled the truck. We were almost 18,000 pounds. Truck, trailer, load, everything.
About
And
2,500
on a
GMC.
gas rig, 2,500.
Yeah.
With 240,000 miles. And we're truck brakes only, right? So we're rolling, and we're doing like 50 and a 55, because it was still a 4-lane, but it was a smaller road at that point. And we're driving, and we're not very far from this next gas station, but we weren't planning on stopping. All of a sudden, my wife's like, "There's a shell!" Yelled it real loud. I think you were up front. She was in the back seat, and she's like, "They got tequila!" And I got on the brakes hard. I mean, hard, and we just. I don't think we quite squealed the tires, but I think we were on the edge. And we whip in there, and I pull up to a pump, and I stop. I put it in park, and Casey said, "Yeah, you were in the front because you were sitting in the passenger seat, window down."
Mm-hmm.
My wife hops out and she beelines to the store. And about that time, this pickup truck pulls in and just comes to a hard stop at the station at the pump next to us, and throws it in park and gets out. And he's just beelining towards us. And I was like, I know. I said, I just brake checked this guy, and he's got a big trailer on. I said, he's probably about to.
He's got a big truck and big trailer.
Big truck, big trailer. And I said, I think I just brake checked this guy. And he's beelining towards us. And I'm like, this ain't going to be good. But he's coming towards Casey's side. Casey's a big feller. We're good. This guy looks pretty big too. But hey, I'm over here, And he comes through. And I guess to put a little more context in the story, I had 300 subscribers on YouTube at this time. And he comes like through the window and he points at me. And I'm like, oh gosh. And it all happened so quick. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "You're Slowmotion." And like all of the stress just like left me. And I was just like dumbfounded. I'm nobody. I got 300 subscribers. Like, I'm nobody. Somebody recognized me. I seen he started talking about the buggy on the back. I knew that was you. And it was Kendall. And that's how I met Kendall. If it wasn't for my wife saying, "We got to go in there," I might have never met Kendall. And I've met a lot of people at Rednecks since then. And there's just nobody like Kendall. He'll get through anything, like what you were talking about earlier with when things break, people are just like, let's get it back together. He'll keep pushing them where I just break down, like I'm like, okay, let's get it on the trailer and call it a weekend. He's like, we're going to send somebody after another case and we're going to rebuild the transmission at camp. And he did that. And there's a video related to that too. Plug my stuff.
That's a great video. To be completely honest, that is a great video.
But he's so genuine. It's like you. I know a lot of people, but I don't know a lot of genuine people. And he's so genuine. And you are too. Like a lot of people, it almost seems like they got a motive to be around you or a reason, or they only care about themselves. But like, I don't know. There's certain people that I've met that are just genuine, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Maryland couple, they were cool.
Well, quick word on Kendall. I think like he is genuine. You know him better than I do. You've hung out with him outside of Rednecks. I kind of only have experienced him through Rednecks, but like his generosity at Rednecks of like, because he's got a big ass rig. He's got a huge Suburban.
It's bigger now.
it's even bigger than when we saw it. He's always welcomed us on board.
Yeah.
He's you know, like he's okay being filmed and getting on YouTube and everything, which is nice for me because I'm usually holding the camera.
Yeah.
But I think he's just been so generous to us through the years,
Yeah.
year or two that we've known him. Yeah, props to Kendall for just being a class act dude.
Yeah. And with anybody, man, like he just, and he knows so much. I didn't realize when I first met him, I thought he was older than what he is. I think he's only like 22. But like,
What?
yeah, for what he knows, like mechanic
No
wise,
way.
yeah,
No way.
yeah, for what he knows, like mechanic wise, I mean, for his age, it's crazy. But he called me the other day, and he said he got stuck at the bounty hole at Soggy. Everybody did. It wasn't just him. Okay, everybody did. And he said, LS don't make enough power. He said, I think I'm gonna build a big block. He said, I'm gonna have it in for next spring. I was like, listen, dude, I don't doubt you, but like, golly, you know, before every event, it's like I'm gonna rebuild my motor, and he did. I'm gonna rebuild my trans, and he did. You know, before this last Rednecks, I'm gonna put a brand new drop case in and do that. Fixed all his brake and the transmission issues and whatnot. He's bogged the heck out of it since he put that drop case.
He went through
in.
at least 2 transmissions.
Yeah, I think he ended up going through like 4. He just kept breaking the tail shaft. It was just too much stress. He was running into a transfer case, and then he was running from that transfer case into another, so he was getting the gear reduction. Well, all the guys that run big trucks like that, they run a drop case. It drops a bunch to get the axle shafts straighter, but it also...
So it's not like this.
Right.
Okay.
But it also has a heck of a gear reduction where like a stock transfer case will have like a 2-to-1. Every one of them is different, 2-to-1, 2.3-to-1 or whatever. His case, and there's all different types you can go, but since he's a gas rig, not a diesel, he wants a lot of gear reduction. His case, I think, is 5-to-1 now. So he was at like 2 point something to 1 and then 2 point something to 1 here. So he was like 4 point something to 1 with all the gear reduction.
So that's tons of power to your tires, but no speed.
Right,
Okay.
right. It's torque is what it is. The more gear reduction you have, it's torque because, well, you don't need the wheel speed because the bigger your tire is, the slower everything else needs to go, because if you're spinning a 72-inch tire the same speed that you'd spin a 29-inch tall tire, well, you're going to be going really fast. Theoretically, right? Mm-hmm. You can't do that. You don't have the power. But theoretically, you double or triple the tire size. Mm-hmm. You got a vehicle spinning an RPM that would normally go 50 mile an hour. All of a sudden, you're going 150, which you can't do in a truck like that. Right. So the gear reduction, plus it takes a lot of power to turn that much tire. He had 23.1, 26s on it. Now he's got 28Ls on there. So they're 5 inches wider, and I think they're like 3 inches taller. Yeah,
5 inches wider. Good
yeah.
Lord.
So that's what that 23.1 is the width. 23.1 inches wide. He's at 28 wide now. Yeah, just
Kendall.
Every time I turn around though, it's like there's no, I don't know, dude. Like if I broke half of the stuff that he's broke since I met him, which we realized at Soggy, I've only known him a little over a year, but it feels like I've known him forever. You know, he's just one of those people that just leaves an impression. But since I've met him, the amount of things that have broke, and he's just, it doesn't bring him down. He just keeps going. You know, it's almost like fuel. It's like the...
keeps him going.
Well, it's like the transmission thing. He was so excited about rebuilding that transmission, and when he started rolling, I think it's like the underdog story. Like, my transmission snapped. The case broke. For most people, put it on a trailer. We'll try again next year. The next day, mid-afternoon, he's bogging through the pits. He's on the tug pad tugging. You know, it's just like, doubt me. You know, if you doubt him, that's just like motivation.
Do you remember the title of that video? If you're watching this, like this is a video that you need to see.
Yeah, I think it was simple. It was we rebuilt the transmission at Rednecks with Paychecks.
Slowmotion's garage. We rebuilt the transmission, something along those lines. It's actually
Rednecks.
Unbelievably impressive because you guys are like working out of a little pop-up tent.
Yeah, he's got
completely disassembled transmission
on a trailer, on a wood trailer. Yeah.
and gets rebuilt in 6 hours or 4 hours or something. You put a
Yeah,
timer on it, didn't
yeah.
you?
I put a timer on it. It wasn't 6 hours straight. It was 6 hours of work because he did some the next day.
Okay.
But it was 6 hours of work, but it wasn't like 6 hours like from start to finish.
Right.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense. It is kind of clickbaity. It says we. I didn't do a whole heck of a lot of work. I think I helped him pull the transmission out a little bit.
The funniest thing is everybody in that video says, "I'm helping do this. I'm helping do this," and Kendall's the only one doing like the work to make
Yeah.
it happen.
Barney stopped by. That's somebody Kindle. Dude, I've met so many people through Kindle, and that's the coolest thing. Barney's real smart.
All from a Shell gas station.
Yeah, and he helped Kendall out quite a bit. Eli was like an MVP that weekend too. That's another one of Kendall's friends. Like
He ran to town. And,
he's the one that went and got the
yep.
case. When we were on the tug pad, he had his second transfer case was a deuce case. He had it in low, but he didn't have the shifter ran all the way into the cab, so they had a ratchet strap that just held the transfer case in low, the shifter on it. On the tug pad, it snapped. And like Eli ran under there, and they're like, "You got 60 seconds to fix this, or we're pushing off the pad." Eli ran under there, got a new strap on it, got it put back in low, and Kendall was able to keep tugging, you know. And it's just like he did that nonstop, but he was an MVP for the video too. The amount, like he stood on the edge of that tug pad and got because it was muddy that year, and he got absolutely pelted with just mud, and these tires are spinning fast.
Hard, thick mud.
Yeah, and he got some great shots from it. And that was before you were there this year or this spring or this fall. That was this spring.
Yeah.
That was last spring. Those barricades weren't there. Like people were standing on the edge of the concrete.
Whoa.
And so he was just getting absolutely beat, but he got some great shots from it. So no, Eli was an MVP of that weekend.
He's definitely a team player. When I was sitting there in the fall with him watching Kindle, he's like, if it lights on fire, I gotta go be the one to put it out. Like, what are you talking about, man?
And he was serious.
Yeah. Oh, and he was like ready. He was like watching for fire. Something with the power steering leakage or something.
Yeah, power steering. They're full hydraulic. One of the hydraulic lines had rubbed a hole in it, and yeah, when he pulled on a tug pad, he was leaking. And most people do it. He did it too. He's got training fluid in there. Training fluid's flammable, and so you're spraying training fluid out. You got a lot of heat getting built, especially on a tug pad. You're just putting it down. Put it to the floor. So yeah, I mean there was actually a possibility of that thing catching fire.
He was ready, dude. He was like, I know my job, and as soon as I am needed, I'm going.
And he's gonna do it. Yeah.
Damn, dude. Okay.
No, dude. That whole community Kendall's got around him is great, and I see why. I've been to Kendall's house. I've met his dad. I've seen his dad at Soggy Bottom. He's the reason nobody got through the bounty hole. His dad was out there with the excavator and just made it just nasty.
Over at Rednecks?
At Soggy Bottom. Yeah,
okay.
That we went to. But you can tell where Kendall, come from talking to his dad. Another just genuine person. But I ain't talked to him a whole lot, but he's definitely just, straightforward. He ain't gonna beat around the bush or whatever. But
yeah, very straightforward.
Yeah.
I think you guys are kind of almost like two peas in a pod, maybe just from similar interests. You guys can speak the language. And that's something like my brother's brought up before. If he's not a car guy,
Yeah.
he likes cars, but it's like as soon as he gets under the hood and he doesn't know what's going on. But there's so much terminology involved that it kind of intimidates him to like go to Rednecks or something.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't have to.
You don't have to be a car
You don't have to speak
you
the
don't
language.
have to be a car.
For sure. You do not have to be a car guy. Like, I think you should appreciate cars or at least like appreciate a big ass rig. You don't have to know what all goes into it. Like, if you don't appreciate loud engines and big tires and mud flinging, then maybe Rednecks isn't for you.
Right.
But
it's not for everybody.
It just takes if you think that's cool, if you're into monster trucks, if you're into that kind of avenue, you'll find your people, and that's no problem. And the best quote of Rednecks you ever said was, whatever level of party you're looking for, it's there. So true.
That is so true. And on your subject of like the terminology, I think that's why like Kindle, I latched on to Kindle so much is because, like, I watch a bunch of stuff. I've learned a bunch of stuff, but like he's done the stuff that I think I know, but I haven't done, you know? So like the things Kindle can do is beyond my skill level, but it's stuff I know, but I haven't done. So it's more like stuff I think I know, you know? Like you think you know something and then you get into it and you're like, "Oh no, this is a lot more than what I thought it was." But he's done it. So like even though he's younger than me, he knows more than I do. And so that's what's cool is like I can talk to you and like when it comes to talking, you're above me knowledge wise. Like I can learn something. I love talking to people. I can learn something, you know, because there's always something to learn.
Well, that's an ego thing. If your ego's too far inflated, you're gonna say, "Well, I already knew that," or
Yeah.
"No, I don't need to know. Like, I already got it." It's like it's nice to have your ego in check and be able to say, "I don't care if you're 22 and I'm 29.
Yeah.
You have something that I can
A lot.
learn." And beyond that, you're not an asshole.
Yeah,
Like
he's a
that
genuine
goes a long
person.
way. Kendall happens to be a super genuine dude, nice guy, friendly with knowledge to where, yeah, like why wouldn't you be a sponge and soak up as much as you
Yeah.
can? That would be irresponsible of you
What
if you weren't like
and
that.
he's like just the opposite. A lot of people that know a lot of stuff too. He's like, I don't know. You know, I was like the transmission thing. I was like, you dude, you just rebuilt that transmission, and now you're driving. He's like, yeah, like no, like nobody does that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's awesome,
That's kind
you
of a
know. And
big
he's just
deal.
like, you know, like it's just a Tuesday afternoon, you know, just another day, you know, no big deal.
Rebuilt a transmission literally in the mud.
Yeah, but like onto your subject, talking about the trucks and whatnot. I didn't realize. So my buggy, I got bigger tires for it now, but it's sitting on 48-inch tall tires. I live in Kansas. Listen, dude, I got the biggest tires around. Like there's no arguing with it. Like I go places and people are like, I got 37s. I'm like, yeah, that's cute. You know? Looking down at everybody. So my first time going to Rednecks, I'm like, I'm gonna show these Texas boys. I'm gonna show these Texas boys how it's done. Okay. We're gonna come down from Texas. We're gonna come. And I pull in, I'm sitting 9 foot off the ground, right? You know, where the roof of the buggy's 9 foot off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right. I pull off the trailer and I'm rolling down towards the pit and I see the first big truck. Oh, his tires are to my roof. I'm not the big dog. Dude, there's side by sides down there bigger than my buggy.
At least taller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. But like monster trucks have 66-inch tall tires. That's standard for monster truck.
Okay.
There's so many trucks that are got bigger tires than that. Like the trucks at Rednecks are bigger than monster trucks. You know, like video doesn't do justice. You have to be there.
And they almost like run them harder than monster trucks.
They that's the thing. It's such an appropriately named event.
Absolutely.
You don't there are trailer queens. No matter where you go, there's trailer queens. But most of the guys that come, they come and the trucks get used for what they were built for. They'll parade them, but listen, it's going home on a trailer. And they got that, most of them got that mentality. I think that's why I like that red truck that runs all the time, cashed out. I like it, one, because it's one of the bigger trucks that still has a gas engine. Most of them go diesel, and I get it. You're trying to turn a lot of weight. But if that truck's in the pit, he's beating the crap out of it. You know? If he's on the tug pad, he's beating the crap. Like, that thing doesn't parade around. That thing works, and it still he keeps it clean. The fact that
it's a beautiful truck.
The fact that it looks as good as it does,
Yeah.
and he still beats the crap out of it. That's just, to me, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm a Chevy guy, so that's, you know, most of the trucks you see, because it's an easy way to get a diesel engine, and I'm a Chevy guy, but they got strong frames. Most of the big trucks are Super Duties. You see a lot of it. So it's nice to see a Chevy. It's nice to see a gas engine out there.
And him in particular, I think the story was he bought it off the lot and took it to a shop and
built it. Yeah.
Brand, like you see so many old vehicles because it's cheap. You know, what am I going to do with this old vehicle? Oh, let's just turn it into a big ass mud rig. Like, that's a great idea. This dude went to a car lot, bought a brand new Chevy, and immediately put it in the shop and built the motor, built the suspension, everything else, put on big old tires, and he uses it. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's so badass.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the whole community is great, but like from the big guys down to the small guys. The first year I went down there, I bought the buggy. It's got 2.5 ton Rockwells. I watched my neighbor. He's real into the off road thing. He goes down to Disney a bunch, and it seemed like he'd break axles and stuff. But he got a rig that was on 2.5 tons. It was it was a Plymouth version, but it was basically a Dodge Ram Charger. I can't think of what the Plymouth version of it is. Had an LS in it, but it was on those 2.5 ton Rockwells. And dude, they're stout. They're low geared. They're top loaders. Instead of the pinion coming out the front, it comes out the top. So you got more ground clearance at the diff. And I knew, okay, I want to get into off roading, but I knew like I don't know anything. I'm a terrible driver. So like having an axle that has more ground clearance at the differential allows me to drive dumb, hit a rock and not have, or a place where a normal axle would probably hit a rock. I don't have to worry about it. Well, I found the buggy with a knocking motor, bought it for like $7,000, but I actually wheeled it for 6 months with the motor knocking. Thing had no oil pressure. But it had those 2.5 ton Rockwells. I since have put several motors in it, but we went down to Rednecks for the first time with it, and uh, with the new motor, and we're wheeling and we're having a good time. And I think it was the second day. It might have been the first day. No, I think it was the second day. Um, my buddy Gary that went down there with me, he's bogging it through the pit, and all of a sudden it just drops. Front tire comes completely off, lays over. It's sitting on 3 wheels. Some guy just come over in the Jeep, and he's like, "You want me to winch you out?" And I was like, "Yeah, And I'm still fairly new to the off road community at all. And he pulls me out, and he's like, what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. Wheel bearing shot. Like I said, I probably can't even get parts for this. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get on the trailer. My weekend's shot. And guy come up, Preston was his name. He's got a deuce and a half lifted big tires, and he's like, "I got some my old bearings at camp." You know, I was like, "Cool," because I don't think I can find bearings. He's on 2.5 tons, so I get some bearings from him. I got some seals, and I think I got one bearing from him. I got another bearing. There was a guy rolling around selling parts for those axles. Got a bearing from him. He lent me an impact. I got a high lift jack from somebody. And the next morning, we got this thing tore apart, cleaned up, and put a wheel bearing back on. And spindle was a little bit scarred, but we kind of had to beat the wheel bearings on, which is not ideal um, at all. But we were rolling. We rolled the rest of the weekend. And it was just like the buggy was on a little bit of a hill, and we're jacked up, and it's trying to kind of like roll. There's a guy that had a Suburban back chopped off of it. So it kind of looked like an Avalanche, but it was an old square body
Nice.
Suburban. Um, and he's just like, "Hey, you want me to hold it?" And I was like, "Sure." And he pulls the Suburban up into the back tire of the buggy and puts his rig in park, and just he sits there for the couple hours it took to put everything back together.
Wow.
And he helped me break. We had one nut that was just kicking our butt. It was a lug nut. Come to find out, it was a reverse thread, so we ended up just snapping the stud off. I've since changed all of my uh, studs out. They're all normal threaded now, so I don't have to worry about backwards threads. Anyway, um, but like, and that's happened so many times. Like, there's bad characters in any community, but like the off road community, there's so many people that are just willing to help. It's. I've only been in it for like 3 years, but it's just. I think that's why I want to keep doing it, and I
Yeah.
think that's why I want to get Autumn a rig, because it just seems like most of the people around are just so good and willing to help, and it's just a great community of people to be around.
It's super eye opening, and you introduced me to it, so thank you for that. But it is super eye opening, the community involved with the off road. And yeah, I agree. You said it. There's bad apples everywhere, but by and far, it's just a super close knit community. So it's a lot of fun. I've had so much fun at Redneck. Like, not to keep beating a dead horse, but I'm sure my friends are exhausted with me talking about rednecks,
Mine
but
are.
it's something I've just never experienced before, and I never want to stop going. Twice a year, it's perfectly timed out. By the time you're leaving, you're ready to go, and by the time it shows up again, you're freaking amped to go back.
I think I've said that every time we've left. Like, it's been fun. I'm ready to go home.
I want to go home now.
Like, you know, I love it, but at the end, it's like I've had my fill for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know,
And
like
that's perfect though. It's like the distance between the events is so perfect. If they threw in another like midsummer,
it'd be too much.
It'd bum me out. I'd say no, or
It'd be
I
too
don't know.
frequent. Yeah,
I'd try it, but it would be too frequent. It'd
yeah.
be way too frequent. Twice is freaking perfect. Okay, my friend, we're at an hour and a half, a little over.
Dude, I'll listen. I'll go for like 3 hours just talking about rednecks. So like,
I know,
we can move on,
and I didn't want to,
and we can talk about it some more
but I wore the
another
shirt.
day. I love the shirt.
I know, dude. It's so good. And I wanted to get into other things, but I don't care. It's been a great conversation. But let's do a few more, and we'll wrap it up. And if there's a part 2, then so be it. I mean, I know there's a few people I've had on that's like, this is not your only time. Like, we will come back.
Well, like,
so you're one of those people. You'll come back.
well, like with me and you, you're editing my videos. Like, I'm going to talk to you a lot, you know, and we're starting to ramp that up, or hopefully we're starting to ramp that
Absolutely.
up. So me and you we're always going to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, listen, I could sit here and ask you questions for 2 hours. Like, I know you, but I don't know you. You
Yeah.
know, like you're so, you know, I was talking about shallow earlier. Like, you're so deep. Like, I feel like there's layers to you, and I'm just kind of barely scratching the surface on who Casey is.
Well, our 5-hour road trips down to Texas, you know, we have a lot of deep talks, and,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, there's a certain level of intimacy involved without cameras rolling or without audio. You know, there's
Yeah.
a lot we can talk about in those, you know, long car rides to where it's like, it doesn't leave the truck, you know?
Yep.
And so we can go through those layers of each other. So
I got a guy I talk to at work. We call it dive off in a rabbit hole. You know, what rabbit hole we gonna dive off into?
Yeah.
You know, and we'll beat a horse until it's dead, and then we'll beat it for a little longer, and then we'll jump on something else the next day.
Well, let me throw you a few more, and then we'll wrap up here pretty
Listen,
soon.
I got nothing but time, so
I know.
you throw me as much as you want.
Let's do a few more. What's something that takes up too much of your time?
That's a good one. Work takes up a lot of my time. My actual day job.
You're sending me snaps late at night.
Yeah, so
Still in the truck, still driving, still got 100 miles.
So, you know, we can work up to 14 hours a day. Within the bounds of the law. You know, trucking's highly regulated, and yeah, more often than not, I burn most of that. Every trucking company pays a little differently. Mine pays a percentage of the load, so there is a incentive to work hard, to work. I don't like using the word fast because fast makes mistakes. Fast skips steps, doesn't do things properly. Efficiently is the word I use. So there's a certain level of basically use all the time you got and maximize it. So yeah, I mean, I work generally 12 to 14 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that takes up a majority of my time. And so like, I ain't lying. Ain't I went to Riverton. Just I went to Riverton. No, I'm not lying when I say, yeah, I can make money, but Autumn does everything else. Like, she is the reason I can work that much. And I'm not gonna lie, like the amount of times that I feel like I'm a terrible father because I'm putting so much time into work. And I would say up until you really took a brunt of the workload, editing was the second thing that just took way more time than it should. One, editing takes forever. I think this last video you said you had 20 hours in. You know,
about 3 days.
It was nothing for me to have 20 hours into half the video you did. You know, and there's a skill level difference is a big reason why. But like, the thought of putting 20 hours in to that on top of my work, when can I be a dad? You know? So yeah, I mean, work takes a big portion of my time, but since there's a goal, and that's another word where the last 6 months have been with Autumn, since there's a goal, I don't. It doesn't bother me to work those kind of hours because there's an end goal. 14 hours a day is not forever. You know, it's for now. It's a means to an end. So, and things that, you know, you didn't ask this, but things that I don't put as much time as I want to in is the kids.
Maybe even a better question.
Yeah, is the kids. I spend as much time as I can. I can tell you there was a time where I drove over the road and my kids, they knew who I was, but that was about it, you know.
That's not a good feeling.
That's the life of an over the road truck driver. It's not unique to me. It's unique to it. Trucking is not just a job. It's a lifestyle, and not all that's good, you know. Like I use it as an excuse, but listen, not all truck drivers are overweight. Actually, most of them aren't. But like, it's easier to be lazy. It's easier to overeat when you're just driving all day. It's easier to do that. So, you know, it's you could even say, oh well, it's hard to control what to budget what I eat while I'm, or you know, control what I eat while I'm driving. It's hard to work 14 hours and then want to work out after work. But like, dude, it's hard for me at this weight to like get down on the floor and play with the kids. You know, it's hard for me to walk to the end of the driveway and get the mail. You know, so like, choose your hard. You know, so that's something else that I'm starting to focus on. This is where Autumn's like great. Creating goals with her instead of separate from her just makes it so much easier for me. So we've got the financial thing going in the right direction. She's doing great with the budget. I'm gonna let her keep doing. I'm still there, but like she's doing because she writes everything on the counter. So she's like everything's on pen and paper. Where me before, all the bills got paid, but it was always up here. So I think that's why it was so stressful. She just writes it down. So simple, but somehow I can't do it.
So profound.
But like that's the next focus. At one point, I was up to 370 pounds, and I got a long ways to go. I'm down to 350. Not a huge accomplishment, but
it's a start.
The right direction.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And honestly, I think you're a big inspiration for that too. Cause like when I knew you in high school, but I didn't really know you. You know, I kind of knew who you were. But like I've gotten to know you, and like when I first started getting to know you, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, Casey's a little weird. You know, everything Casey does is different than the norm. But the more I got to think about it, the more I was like, everything that Casey does should be normal. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a routine. He makes time to work out. He has a hearty breakfast all the time. You know, he stretches. He does things that's going to get his body to last the long run. You know, like, why did that seem weird to me? That's, you know what I mean? But that's like how society pushes. Like, if you don't just grab a granola bar on your way to work as you stop by Starbucks, then what are you doing? Are you even an adult?
How are you going to have any energy?
Are you even an adult? Where's your Pop-Tart?
It's a responsible thing to do, to get a coffee, $8 coffee before work.
What the heck is wrong with you? I don't know why I'm broke. You know? That's terrible.
I mean, it happens, but it goes back to literally like one of the first things you said on this podcast about how society pushes this shit that like, how is that benefiting you in any way, shape, or form? How is that benefiting you?
Yeah, it's terrible, man. I've been listening to a lot of Dave Ramsey. Actually, that's kind of where the idea of joining finances with my wife started, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm not gonna like regurgitate everything he says, because I mean, he's got his own talk show. You want to listen to it, listen to it. If you don't, that's fine. But like, you know, he tells you a lot. Like, the amount of there's more money spent in marketing debt to the world than anything else. Like MasterCard, Visa, Discover, like, dude, they push it so hard. It's so easy. And there's a lot of things he says that's like, go buy $1,000 beater car. Listen, the concept's right. Okay, is a beater car $2 or $3 nowadays? Okay, I'll give you that. But the concept's still the same. You know what I mean? Um, but they push debt, and it's so easy. The less friction you have with your money, the easier it is to get. So if you pull out your wallet and you say, "Here's $20," and they give you 37 cents back in change, like you just hand over 20 and you got a handful of change. That hurts a little bit.
Mm.
If you swipe a credit card or even a debit card, there's less friction there. It's just you still think about it, but not it's not physical.
That's a great point.
If you go even a step further, Apple Pay, I just pushed my phone. Like, is this even real? Or Amazon, your card's already linked to the account. I click this button, they're going to ship it to my house. There's no correlation. That's why casinos give you chips to gamble, because it's not real. And even if it is real, if you have $100 in chips at the poker table or $100 in chips at the blackjack table around here, there's not really much for poker tables. In your head, the money's kind of already spent. I have yet to see somebody put $20 in a slot machine and walk out with $3. If they get down to $3, they're going to keep hitting it until it's zero.
Sure.
When you put it in that money in that machine, it's already gone. So the less friction we can create between you and your money, the easier it is to get from you.
That's Dave Ramsey?
Yeah.
That's a fascinating point.
Yeah, dude. I think a lot of people don't like him because he's direct. Also because, like, he don't beat around the bush. He's direct, and he's old, right? So, like, the younger generation says, he's talking about real estate and this and that. It's like, well, you bought your house cheap and now it's worth a lot. But guess what? They're not wrong, the people that say that. But if you buy a house today and go around and try to sell it 20 years from now, you're going to be in the same freaking boat.
You'll probably be all right.
The house is going to appreciate. Housing has always appreciated. So don't fault the man for making his money. Take the advice and make your own, but you got to get on. He doesn't say this. This is kind of something that I've started thinking. You got to get on the right side of the money. In other words, if you are paying, I got a low interest rate. That was my argument for Autumn's new car. I got a 1.9% interest rate. Cheap, great. I got great credit. So I'm doing great. Imagine if I was on the other end of that. I loaned $30,000 to whatever, stocks, this, that. There's so many places to invest. And I was receiving 1.9% interest. It's freaking, somebody's paying me. You get on the right side of the money, and instead of losing it, that 1.9% interest is lost. But if you're on the other side, you're making it.
Mm-hmm.
Debt, I don't know. My relationship with debt is like, we actually waited till we paid the credit cards off to do it, but we cut our credit cards up. And Soggy Bottom Trails was the first trip that I took funded solely with cash. And there was so much anxiety on that until I got back. Because I was like, what if my debit card doesn't work? What if I run out of cash in my wallet? What if? And it was just like, you know how much cash you got. And you know how much gas you're going to burn. Even if the debit card doesn't work, you have enough cash to float it. And if you go to buy another taco from the freaking taco truck and you don't have any money, you can't go into debt.
You don't get the taco.
Yeah. And you're not going to die, right? I'm not going to wither away over a weekend.
Sure.
And then I come back and, it used to be I'd come back from Rednecks and I'd stress, now how do I pay for that trip? Wait, no, pay for the trip before you come.
Yeah.
And that was the first trip that the trip was paid for before we went. And dude, there's some level of peace there that, like, we got back and financially it was over. It wasn't like, I got debt from this. It was just like, over. What are we doing next? Before it was like, let me pay this off and then we can evaluate what's next.
So much of that is growth. And even going back to like physicality, it's like, dude, when I was 20, I was 280, which was my heaviest. And now I'm 215.
I didn't realize you got that big.
I got pretty big my first year out of high school. I just kept eating like I was playing football. And I was too big to be playing football, at that weight, like whatever. But the financial mindset, the physical mindset, spiritual, emotional. It's like there's growth in all things. So I don't know. There's always room for improvement. I want to be lighter than I am now. So it's like I'm still working on it. I'm still practicing. And that's what anything is. You practice good habits, and then those things become solidified. So
you never stop learning, and if
yeah,
you do stop learning,
something's
there's
wrong.
something wrong
Yeah.
with it. It's like the money thing. I'm not sitting here on my high horse saying I got it all figured out, dude. I got like $1,200 in the bank.
You're teaching me right now,
but
and you're teaching other people,
and I'm gonna learn more. Like, I think the problem is people will look at stuff like what I'm saying and they'll go, "Oh, it must be nice." I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm better than you. I'm trying to say I was a freaking idiot up until 6 months ago. So I'm just as normal as everybody else. I just decided I don't want that no more. And some of that was because I started being educated.
I think that's like the negative bias, though, because you're going to have somebody who says, must be nice. And you say, go to hell. Like, go listen to somebody else, because there's 99% of other people who say, I've never heard that point before. That's actually a really great point. And now I'm going to learn from that. You just taught me something about finances, about being on the right side of money. It's like somebody is always going to say, yeah, must be, you're in great shape, must be nice. Like, do you know how hard I had to fucking work?
Oh, yeah.
How much I had to sacrifice to look how I want to look.
Yeah.
Like, it took years, literally years. And I'm still working towards it financially, still working towards financial stability long term. There's so much that happens in life to where you don't know what's going on, and you make mistakes and you have to recoup, and that's okay. It's like you can recover from, I would argue, just about anything. You can recover if you're still breathing, you still wake up in the morning. One of your quotes, if you wake up broke, you had no business going to bed in the first place.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Okay, that's kind of a hard ass mentality.
But
it's a good point. It's a really good point.
It's definitely over the top, and it's not meant to be direct. Listen, I'm not trying to say you need to go work 3 weeks straight without sleep. Okay, I don't know what it takes to do that, but I imagine whatever it is illegal. That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, the mentality is, it's like the 14-hour workday. This isn't forever. This is for now. This is a means to an end. We have goals. We have plans. And I could burn up a whole 2-hour podcast on my goals and plans. And most of it's going to be boring, because it's a whole lot of saving up and sitting and waiting and sitting and waiting and saving up. But I'm trying to think how to word this. This is where I'm great at math. I have a limited vocabulary. And it really sucks, because I have ideas, and sometimes I don't know how to express them. But honestly, I'm to a point now I even lost where I was trying to go with that. Squirrel.
All
All
right, one more. Way back when I wanted you on the podcast from the start, and we started talking about it. For some reason, you requested number 8.
Yeah.
Why did you request number 8?
It's funny. It's not even my number.
It's your podcast number now.
It's my mom. Technically she's my stepmom, but I call her my mom. It's one of her lucky numbers, and I don't know why. I think she's told me, and I probably should know why, but it's just, I don't know. It's a number I've used and stuff. And when I heard you were doing it, I was like, 73 is my number. I have no idea why. It's just a number. And I was like, I kind of want to, I want to be on Casey's podcast, right? And I want to be fairly soon. So I was like, 8. Yep, 8 it is. So that's where it was. That, and I wanted you to have done a couple before I come on. Not because I was like, I want Casey to be good enough for me. It was more like, I want to have an idea of what I'm diving into. So I want to watch a couple of people, and I got too much time to think. So I get myself worked up. So all week leading up to this, I'm like, I hope he doesn't ask me something controversial. I don't want to talk about politics or something. We are getting close to the election. I'll lose half my subscribers.
Who are you voting for, and why?
Voting for Cletus McFarland.
I almost told you, do not wear a Cletus shirt. Do not wear a Cletus
So
shirt.
you were talking about merch. He's one of my favorite YouTubers because again, and I think if you're in front of the camera long enough, I think reality shines through. And he seems to be one of the automotive ones that I watch that's just a genuine person. And yeah, I've probably then this is over the course of like 6 years, 7 years. I was one of his first subscribers. Like I think he had like 10,000, 20,000 subscribers
Oh, nice.
when I
He's
now
in
he's like
millions.
3 million, yeah, or something. Um, dude, I've probably spent $500 on merch over the last
'Cause you
six,
like
7 years. Yeah, because I like him. I like his content, and yeah, he's a genuine person.
His
He
shirt makes
seems
you
like a
happy
genuine.
when you wear his shirt to work or
Literally,
to.
when the cameras aren't rolling, I'm probably wearing a Cletus shirt because I
Well,
have so many of them.
dig deep into Slowmotion's channel and you will see
Some
some
Cletus shirts.
Cletus shirts until there was a discussion had about
That was another thing Casey taught me
you
was,
can't.
hey, you're trying to build your own brand and you're wearing somebody else's stuff.
Every video, every single video.
It's like all I own for shirts.
Which fair, you like the guy, but if you have people like that who enjoy you and enjoy putting your stuff on and remembering slow motion makes me happy.
Yep.
You gotta offer it to them.
So that's a darn strong argument. Let's see, what am I at? 1,200 subscribers.
That sounds right.
That's somewhere around there. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal because if I don't put a number on it, I'll never do it. And that's one thing we started at the beginning is I won't put a number. At 2,000 subscribers.
Oh, come on.
I'll get merch.
1,500.
Subscribe. 50. I like weird numbers. 1,503 subscribers, and I will put one piece of merch out.
I'll make that deal.
Baby steps.
You want to start with a hat?
Probably gonna start with that. I can't. I don't want to say for sure, but yeah, probably gonna be a hat.
I will absolutely buy.
And it's probably good. Listen, this was my homemade jobber, right there. Slow motion's great, but it'll probably be something like that, but not dirty. This hat has been through some stuff. Listen,
That's how you know it's authentic.
yeah, yeah. I'll sell you this hat.
You can auction that baby
I'll
off.
sell you this hat.
All right, man. Well, before we wrap up, do you have anything else? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to ask? Talk?
Dude,
we got time.
I got nothing but time. I got a lot of stuff to talk about.
You're always welcome to come back. We don't have to cover everything here.
We'll definitely I'll definitely be back for another one.
Open invite. Anytime.
If you don't mind, I got some people I got to give a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely.
To.
Go
ahead. Kendall's girlfriend Lena makes all kinds of custom stuff. She made this cup. I got it upside down. Slow Motion's Garage. It's got Kendall's bourbon on it. This thing's huge. Get Twisted. He's on TikTok. Listen, Kendall. Since I met Kendall a year ago, I went from 300 to 1,200 subscribers. I grew so fast for two reasons. One, Kendall's given me a lot of content. And two, Casey's upped my videos. 100% Casey's upped my videos. So, Emily Car Freshies on Facebook is where you can find her. She makes all kinds of custom stuff. Car fresheners. Yeah, we'll put a link in the bio. There you go. I like that, Casey.
Gotcha.
Link in the bio. Kendall's got TikTok. Get Twisted. Check it out. We got TikTok. We post mostly on YouTube. I'm trying to do the TikTok thing too. It's starting to grow a little bit. I think we're up to like 600. They're not subscribers, they're followers on TikTok. I think that's what they're.
I think TikTok can it can go faster than YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube's tough.
There's a lot of people. Yeah, YouTube takes a Casey. YouTube takes a Casey. It's work.
Teamwork, buddy.
Teamwork. But yeah, just my wife for holding it down. Holding it down so I could be here. I mean, things don't happen without a plan, and she makes sure everything's planned. And everybody, dude, like the amount of people. My dad recorded a bunch of the early stuff. He come over. My brothers recorded a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of people that have helped me get this far, and I'm nobody. 1,200 subscribers. But even if I somehow blow up and become 1 million, I'm still nobody. Like I don't want to be somebody. I want to be nobody. And that's, I don't know.
Just don't forget, this was your dream. And you're making it happen.
I don't mind
through the help of others.
I love when
But you're
people
making it
come up
happen.
and like at Soggy, there was a handful of people that was like, I had one guy say, "Hey, my kid watches you," and I had another kid come up to me and he was talking about, he wants to go to Rednecks. I'm like, go. He's like, I gotta wait till I turn 18. I didn't know he was that young. I figured he's like 19, 20.
Yeah.
I was like, when you turn 18, I said, you gotta go. He's like, I watch your YouTube. And like, I think reality set in. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I figured out my channel's going to a bunch of middle-aged men, that are into this off-road stuff. But I think reality's starting to set in that I got a lot of people that are younger than me, and I know my mouth is bad. I try to keep the cussing down. I try to do well on this podcast. I think I did all right.
I don't think you said a word.
But
a bad word.
I do say it a lot. I think I've said it a lot to the beginning. And that's where having a Casey's great because he can edit that stuff out. But I definitely try to keep it PG for the younger audience because I had heroes I look up to, and even if it's just one, I might have a hero that looks up to me. So I definitely don't want to do something really wrong. So, but
I think that's admirable to pay attention to stuff like that.
And I think some of the early stuff was not as much like, but I don't think I ever even thought I'd get this far. I think I made $100 off of YouTube last month, which, in the grand scheme of things is not a lot, but to me it's like, it made money. Did it make profit? No. That's a whole nother argument, but it made money.
I told Colton, I said, the day you paid me for the last video, I said, I got $30 from YouTube. And
yeah.
He's like, that, in reality, it might be $30, but I bet it feels like 300. And I was like, that's exactly right. It felt like you just handed me $300.
Yeah.
It was 30, but it felt like this is real money from YouTube.
Yeah.
It was a dream coming true.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling.
Yeah, and you put your time into it. I think we're violating labor laws because Casey made less than minimum wage on that video.
Much less.
But Casey's done a lot of videos for zero. Yeah. A lot of videos for zero. So I'm just happy we're to a point that it's something, and I want it to grow quick enough that I can make it more than just something. I can make it where, ideally, I can make it where the money that you make off of it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we can get there rather quickly. Mm-hmm. And I want to get to the point where I don't even need to make a profit. I wanted it to offset the cost of my toys, but honestly, the way Autumn's got our budget set up, I don't even need the money from YouTube to chase what I'm doing. So like any money that I can make off of YouTube on top of what it costs to produce it, I'll just put right back into it. I'll get more toys, bigger toys. I want bigger toys so bad.
I know you do, but I want you to stop driving trucks. So if that money can make sense.
Well, in that time. Well, imagine 14 hours a day into YouTube. Like,
that's the point where you wake up and you think, all right, we have the blueprint, we have the plan, we have the script, whatever it takes to make this YouTube video.
Yeah.
That's where I want you to be.
Forget that. No, wait.
I want you to be at YouTube is the focus.
Yes.
YouTube is what I wake up to, assign my responsibility to, not taking this load from point A to point B. I know that's now.
Yeah.
You're great at it. It makes good money.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be 45 still doing that. There's nothing wrong with that, but your goals don't align with that.
Right.
So
right.
I hope you continue and keep posting and keep giving me shit to edit.
You got a little bit. It's not great footage, because I didn't have the crew of people. It was just me. And, the crew of people makes a world of difference,
Well, if you brought me in now and not 2 years ago, I think it's a clear indication. Like, this was the first video that I've half-ass felt like proud about the edit job involved. It's like, so, you're pushing me to grow and become better. And I think us together has learned so much about YouTube. You're telling me about how important the title and the thumbnail is. It's like in the beginning, you're just like, it's all about the video. It's all about the video. It ain't. It's not.
Yeah.
There's a few factors, a few very important factors that go into a successful, profitable YouTube video, and we're learning as we step. And if you never started this YouTube journey, we would never know that.
Yeah.
If you hadn't brought me in, I'd be at level 1 editor instead of level 3, or it's just all this growth involved that you have to take the first step.
Well, like my best example I got is your truck, us doing the ignition system.
Mm-hmm.
The retention on that video is amazing, but the views on it is terrible.
Hmm.
And what that tells me is the retention's great because the people that are watching it are watching all the way through. Why are they watching all the way through? Because it was a well edited video. It was well put together. The reason the views suck is the title and thumbnail was an afterthought. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, the other reason I think we haven't grown as fast, and a reason I think we can here moving forward, is we haven't made what I call a YouTube video. In other words, we've recorded what we've done
Mm-hmm.
and made it into a video. If we start with this is my title, this is an idea of what the thumbnail is going to be, and then we go produce that, I think we're going to do great.
That'll be a game
And
changer.
I got that one in my mind. I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Yeah,
that I've told you for a year and a half.
I refrained from saying it as well.
I'm going to do that soon because I think planning it out.
Great winter video, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, plan it out,
Mm-hmm.
get a great thumbnail, probably get a handful of thumbnails, you know, because now YouTube's got that feature where you can compare 3. You can post 3 thumbnails and it'll put them all out there. Whichever one's better, it'll keep. So you can put 3 thumbnails.
I like it.
Yeah. So definitely going to be an experimental video, and it's going to be a low cost video. I mean, even compared to our trip to Redneck or Soggy, it's going to be cheap, you know. But see how that goes. But I won't be over the top clickbaity with anything, but that'll probably be a little bit clickbait. Well, it's gonna what the video title is going to be is what's going to be in the video,
Right.
but it's definitely a YouTube video compared to this is what we're doing today.
Sure.
You know.
I think we kind of like that's an avenue we haven't even explored yet.
No.
And you're already monetized, so it like makes sense. Hey, try something that is like definition of a YouTube video and see how that works, because it's probably going to work out okay.
So here's a little bit extra information, whether you people need to know it or not. I made this deal with Casey here recently of he's going to get 100% of the ad revenue of any video until we make something substantial. So if we make this video and it does something dumb, like gets 1 million views and he makes like $4,000, this is my word, he going to get all $4,000.
Heard it here.
Because he's worked his butt off just as much as me. Dude, you've been editing for free for a year. You know, there's a lot invested in that. So that's recording is about a quarter of YouTube. Editing is about 75%. I really do think it is. You can record the coolest stuff ever. If it's not edited very well, it doesn't matter. YouTube has evolved dramatically from just post whatever you got. There's so many big players with a lot of money and a lot of time and skill and stuff. You know, they're almost miniature movies. You know,
even if they're 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
it really is.
So,
I think that's a great ratio too, like 25 to 75.
Yeah,
that's probably an accurate ratio.
And this comes because I edited a lot of my own stuff at the beginning. So, and I hated it, and I tried to push it off on you as quickly as I could. And I'm so glad that you allowed me to edit and to learn. And I'm glad because 1, I know what goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
2, I got some ideas of like, hey, you know, you could throw this in there, you could throw that, you know, and most of the time I just give it to Casey and let him have free reign, and I'll double check it or say, hey, what about this or what about that? But like, even when you're recording, you got an idea of like, hey, get this or hey, get that shot, you know. I have a video from Crossbar that like a lot of the shots I got was just for the edit. Like, I don't know if you watched that video. They did mud races with the side-by-sides. But before the race, I went through and I got a bunch of shots of the things. And I was kind of like whipping the camera different ways. That way, when I put them all together, it was like they dropped in different ways. and it just like it made it flow so much better with the
Yeah,
music,
for
you know.
sure.
So it's just stuff like that. But
No, I'm really happy that you took a dive into editing to A, see how difficult it actually is, and B, it does. It changes your film kind of choreography.
yeah,
It gives you a different idea of, it can't just be like, start, hi, I'm Dakota. It's like, there needs to be some motion. There needs to be some transitions. There needs to be some sound effects. There needs to be all this
yeah,
stuff. And now when I say, hey, man, don't give me a video and expect it to be done tomorrow, because it's not going to be done
that too,
tomorrow.
that
So
too.
it's just nice that you have a understanding about kind of what goes into it, and that, especially on this last one, I worked my ass off for 3 or 4 days. Just wake up, coffee, go. Just
Yeah,
start on it. Get tired, whatever. Take a 20, get right back to it. So
dude, and like this Rednecks video, I was like, "Ah, there's so much more he could have put into it." But we went down to Rednecks with the we're gonna have fun
yeah,
and we're gonna record second. And so like I went back through all the footage because I made short. I was gonna make a couple, and I was like, we probably have at least another video we can milk out of this. And I watched it, and I was like, I see some things I could, but that's what it is. It's milking, and that video was so good. I hate to follow it with something not
yeah,
that great. So I made that short with that white truck,
did great.
and it did great. And honestly, that was kind of just me still being maybe a little butthurt. It wasn't in the video, so I'm like,
Just
I'm gonna make a short with it.
had to have
You
it,
know,
dude.
it's
You just
gotta be. I
had to have
recorded it. It's gotta go in.
it.
You know, but it did all right. But
It did really good.
Carnage, that's the thing. You know, Carnage in the automotive sector, it's going to do good.
Mm-hmm.
Broken stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of where I started. Was like, I'm gonna rod this thing and this and that. I can't break things for the sake of breaking things. It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts me. So
Well, that's respectable, and I think we've talked. It's kind of been a theme of growth, and you said you wanted to be 8 because you didn't want to be number 1 on my podcast, and it's like this conversation, it's kind of almost teaching me that even though I might have an agenda, that doesn't dictate where, because I don't want to derail
yeah,
a conversation for the sake of, I have this question written down, I'm going to ask this question. So it's an evolution happening of, where is this podcast going to go? How is your channel going to go? It's a constantly evolving thing. And I think consistency is massive. And the day you become not consistent, either of us, and that goes for any of the viewers as well. It's like when you lose the consistency, that's when things are going to suffer. Not when you change the game plan or do something a little out of pocket. That's okay.
yeah,
Like, you're trying new things, you're seeing what works, you're seeing what doesn't work, you're seeing what flows with you. I don't want to be an interviewer that asks boring ass questions, and to every single guest it's like, oh, people listening are waiting for the next, oh, are you close with your parents question. Like,
yeah,
I'm interested in that stuff,
yeah,
but is that where the conversation's going? Is that what people want to hear? Like, all those things are important to consider. So I think life moves on, man. And I love to see the growth happening through a friend, through people who reach out from the podcast, through acquaintances, through all the above. I just love seeing people change their minds, update their software, to become a better person, to become more productive, to become less dependent on the system. Never mind, I'm not going to say that.
rabbit hole.
F the system. So anyway,
It's a conspiracy.
Dakota, you're one of my best friends, man. You've been so fair with me, and part of my free editing was to get my foot in the door, to show you that I'm serious, and
Yeah,
to hopefully do get paid from this someday. And you've paid me cash money, so I
yeah,
mean, like, you're a man of your word, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And furthermore, the example that you've set with your family, and the priority that you've put on your wife and on your kids, being wifeless and kidless, it sets an example for me, going forward in the future, of how to be as a man, not a kid. I know you feel like a kid, as a man going forward. And you've set a great example, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and being your friend.
man, I got so many things that I want to address. So, like, I think I would have gave up on YouTube by now if it wasn't for you. I I have had several points where I'm just like it's emotional, it's financial toll, it's just time. It's taking too much time. I can't do it. And not just you editing, but like just talking to you. And I got a lot of good people in my corner, but like you have such a unique mindset from most of my core group. It's nice to get a different perspective. And like my wife supports anything. If I say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," she's like, "Okay." You know, you'll challenge me. You know, you'll say, you know, "I don't know. What about this or what about that?" Or I'm like, "I'm going to send this thumbnail," and you're like, "Dude, that sucks." Like most of my core group are so supportive. They won't say that sucks because they don't want to bring me down, and I think that's a good thing, but I think it can be a bad thing. I need somebody to be, you know, mean when it's time to be mean. So I appreciate that, and I think part of why I've made it so far in this in life where I'm at, it's my wife. I mean, honestly, Autumn. I wish we had time to dive down the rabbit hole of my history because like that. I'll just hit it briefly. We'll do that on the part
that'll
two,
be part two.
but I'll hit it briefly. Um, when I was 20, before I was 21, I was at the lowest point of my life. We go into detail on that on part two whenever that comes. But Autumn took all the money she had, and she gave me enough money to put gas in my truck to drive to Springfield to start working at Prime because I just turned 21. And she gave me enough money to buy enough food to get through the first 2 weeks before I got paid. I didn't have anything at that point. I had sold everything to pay off debt, um, and not to a bank, debt to people I shouldn't have been in debt to. And I didn't have a thing to my name. And I knew I had to get away from the group I was hanging out with, and I knew I needed freaking money. And trucking allowed both. The downside was I left Autumn. I think I was out 5 or 6 months that first stint. I had to get away, and I had to stay away. And the fact that she did without so I could have another chance, you know, is huge. So there's no telling where I'd been if she wouldn't have helped me at that point. If she'd have just said, you know what, I've had enough of the way you've been doing things, the things you've been doing, figure it out on your own. I might still be doing the same stupid stuff. So no, I'm where I am because of her. She She's same age as me. Well, actually, I make a joke. She just turned 30, so I tell everybody she's older than me, you know, but
Got you a
slightly.
cougar.
Yeah, but no, I mean, in all seriousness, I'm where I am because of her, and she. We might both be adults, but she's the grown up in the relationship.
Well, shout out Autumn. I love having most of my friends are married at this point, and not all wives are built the same. But Autumn is one that it's always a pleasure to see her. She's always sweet as can be, and the way you talk about her and the way I see you guys interact, you know, it's like it's just inspirational, and I love hanging out with both of you. You know, you guys are a great couple.
And I'm not perfect, but she's pretty darn close.
Close as
She's
you can get.
pretty darn close. My mom's got a name for her. She calls her Awesome Autumn.
Awesome, Autumn. That is awesome.
You know,
actually,
it's great. She's you know, I talk about you being a genuine person, Kendall being she is a genuine person. Like I said, I know a lot of people. There's only a handful of them that I'll say they're genuine, but she's a genuine person.
That's awesome.
And there's probably not a person in this world that's got a bad thing to say about Autumn. If they do, they're a liar.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Dakota, thank you for coming on, man. This was a great conversation.
Dude, I appreciate you having me on. I could sit here and talk to you all night.
We could.
Actually, it sounds like there's a good possibility we're going to do that. Just mics will be off.
Yeah, that's when the real podcast happens, actually.
You know, I've watched your podcast enough. I think you got one final question. What is it? Your message to the world.
Give it to me. What is your message to the world?
I was getting ready to say, I better let Casey say that. You know, I just took his question.
Go ahead. What do you got?
My message to the world is that I thought about this because I didn't want to just be like, because that's what I would have been if. So I planned this answer. So if I don't know if that makes it worse, but live your own life. Social media, even YouTube. You know, I watched Casey's video of us at Rednecks, and I said, I had a great time at Rednecks. But I watched that video, and I had an even better time than I thought. Social media is made to show the highlights. It's made to show a good time. Nobody wants to put bad stuff on. Don't live your life trying to be somebody else. And it's not even just to keep up with the Joneses. Don't buy another truck because you want a nicer truck than your neighbor. Like, live your own life, man. Like, what you do should only be what you want to do. If you got a wife, you got kids, obviously it's what your family wants to do. But why would I go and buy a bass boat because my neighbor's got a bass boat when I'm not really a big fisherman? I got a little pond I fish in. My kids, they'll fish for a little bit, but they're not really that into it. Autumn likes fishing, but like we're not. If I had a bass boat, we take it out once a year. Why would I go do that just to keep up with my neighbor? Why would I go, oh, we got to go to this 5-star restaurant and eat when we know damn good and well the food in that restaurant we don't like? Yeah, but that's what we do. Nah. Why would you why would you go to Rednecks because Slowmotion goes and it looks like he has fun, but I don't really like vehicles or off-roading or dirt. I don't like getting muddy. Don't do something just based on social media. Just live your own life, man, and just understand everything you're seeing is a highlight reel. I can tell you my life is boring. All I do is work. When I'm not at work, I do a little bit of an adult stuff. And the only time that I do fun stuff, I post it on YouTube. So just know if I ain't posted for 2 weeks, it's because I ain't done fun stuff for 2 weeks, I'm only going to show you the highlights. And that's everybody. Just live your own life. It's a long-winded answer, and I wish I had a bigger vocabulary because there's better words to speak. I'm not the first person to speak this. There's people that say it all the time. But if it resonates with one person, that's a win for me.
100%. It's a great message.
Casey's a genuine person. Casey's a hard worker. Follow Casey's podcast. What was it? Best case scenario.
It's I only interview stupid people.
I only interview people that can't remember to say best case scenario.
You're a great friend, man. Please subscribe to Best Case Scenario. Please go check out Slowmotion's Garage channel, YouTube. He's got great videos, great editor. No, super entertaining. I love editing your videos because there's always Easter eggs and stuff in there that I don't always post or include, but you're
Jake.
Oh, dang it.
It's been a while on that.
I wish we could elaborate on that, but yeah, really fun stuff. I really enjoyed doing it. Dakota's a great friend, and thank you again, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Also, he's single, ladies.
See ya.
Oh, I love it, dude.
That's it, dude.